Hello and welcome to Geekverse Sidequest, your weekly stop for video game news, reviews, and more here on the Geekverse Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dylan Muss, and today I'm joined once again by Kirkland Patzer. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing very well. It's Monday. It's start to a fresh week, and so far so good. Always happy to be here on SideQuest. This is my second appearance. Lucky
Yeah.
enough. I'm glad you invited me back, and no, I'm excited to talk about some video game stuff.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about today. At first, we're going to, well, I guess our main topic really, if you're watching on YouTube, we got the pink names. We're going to be talking about Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which came out a few days ago. I'm excited to talk about that. We'll also be talking about Total War Warhammer 3, which I always hate saying the word war back to back. It just never flows off the tongue nicely.
Absolutely.
So I'll be sure to mess that up a few times. But anyway, that came out last month, but you've been playing that, and I've really wanted to know what your thoughts are on it. So we'll talk about that. We got some news in the form of Ghostbusters game getting announced, some GTA 5 stuff, Witcher game updates, I guess, on their next project. And then, before all that, we're just going to talk about some other games we've been playing that aren't Kirby and Warhammer, just other things we've been playing over the last few weeks or a month for you, I guess, since it's been a bit since you've been here. So, yeah, that's kind of the run of the show. I guess to get some intro shoutouts out of the way, make sure to join the Geekverse Discord. Of course, fun times, conversations always happening in there. You can subscribe to the SideQuest feed to get video game focused content. So to get SideQuest and Out of Mana all in one place, you can subscribe to that feed. Be sure to support our Patreon to get episodes early and ad-free. It really does help us a lot and goes a long way and is, one of the big reasons why SideQuest is here on a weekly basis and we can do this. Check out the Twitters, the Facebooks, the Instagrams of the world. Thank you to Amanda, who makes the music for the show. Thank you to Taylor, who does all the thumbnails. I want to shout this out. Halo TV show, that is finally out. While it is a TV show, it is still video game related. So we're reviewing each episode one by one last week. So that episode is up now. And this week might be a bit weird. Me or Kirkland might be on there, but we might not because we're also seeing and reviewing Morbius that same day. So we'll see what happens there. But Taylor will have you covered, and then we'll be back, or at least I'll be back for sure the week after and for the rest of that. And then next week's episode is going to be focused on Weird West, which is a game I'm very excited for. It's coming to Game Pass, so everyone can check that out. I'm going to have Dante in the episode, and I think he maybe has been playing Ghostwire and maybe Tiny Tina's Wonderland as well. So talking about some of those other new games. If you have any questions, thoughts, topics for any of those things, be sure to send them my way wherever you want to do so. But I think, do you have anything to shout out, Kirkland, before we get into our first topic here?
Not at all. Did you talk about Gauntlet on here? I know that's gaming stuff, but that's kind of like the main stuff.
I mentioned it
Yeah.
after, like the week after we did the matches, but I guess there's something else happening soon, possibly.
I'm kind of catching my tongue here now because there's been things recorded. I'm not exactly sure all that's allowed to be released to the public here, so maybe I'll just leave it at that, just to tickle the interest of the listeners out there. There's some fun Gauntlet stuff coming.
Yeah, it's always in the works. I will say that after it was like a week or so after the match that it's been a few weeks now. So me and Taylor played in Halo. And I absolutely wiped the floor with him. Okay?
Oh yeah,
and then
like
a week
witness.
later,
it was hard to watch.
Yeah, Travis came to me and he was like, I'm trying to get the next Gauntlet thing going. Like thinking like a rematch of you and Taylor and Halo. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. But then I thought about it a few more days. I'm like, why? Wait, why do I have to do this? It wasn't even close in any way. The rules were like, I don't know what he was talking about. Those rules were just basic rules that we decided on. I didn't change the fucking movement stats and all this stuff. So I'm like, what do I have to prove? Nothing. Like, I think, let him wait a few more months and then he can come back and fight me and prove it. But I have nothing to prove right now. So I bailed on that match. But I will be happy to commentate whatever you guys are doing.
No, I mean, I respect your stance. You have nothing. You have nothing to prove. Why should this guy just get a free swing at you, the reigning Halo champion? I know that's not what the title they were going for, but still, it was a slaughter.
Yeah. I don't want to I just beat him. I don't want him to feel double sad from losing twice in a row. Like I gotta give him some time to recover first from his first.
Absolutely.
Match. But anyway, Gauntlet will be back. Kirkland, let's get right into it. Let's talk about some of the games we've been playing. So I wanted to start with Sifu because when you were on SideQuest last, that was the main topic. We reviewed Sifu. I guess for anyone who didn't listen to that, you should definitely go back and check it out. But just as a quick synopsis, I was not really vibing with the game. At about a 5-hour mark, I said on the cast that I don't think I'm going to be booting it up again. I stayed true to my word. I have not booted up the game again. I think they might have gone and added easy mode or something, but it's too far gone. I don't care anymore. It's off my hard drive. I'm moving on with my life. But you were liking it more than me. I'm curious how your Sifu journey has gone since that. And it's been like a month and a half. So have you played more? Have you played much more? Have you beat it? Where are you at with Sifu?
Yes, I mean, if you had listened to that episode, I was really positive on it. I was so excited to jump back in, and I have not jumped back in.
Oh, no.
I know it's so funny
I
because
feel like that's a hard one to come back to as well.
It
you
is
lose the muscle memory.
100%. Yeah, like I was really, I mean, I was kind of forcing myself to just really power like through as much as I could, at least like leading into the review that we did. And yeah, like I had a bunch of combos like memorized and everything like that. And yeah, I actually okay, I did boot it up I think shortly after that episode. And I just got into a mission. I just got bopped like really early on, and it just killed my motivation. And like I do really like the game. I think I kind of told myself that I would jump back in after they did some updates, just to see if they really. I mean, you just mentioned that they had some easy
I don't know if
mode,
the easy mode's been added yet, but I saw that they were planning on adding it, and I know that they've done some other patches that maybe have made some things easier before the mode's even in there.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've it's kind of past me at this point. I don't really care enough to go back and see the rest of it.
I know it's near and dear to my heart because I just love like what the game kind of is. Like I've just like you're like the kung fu master going in and just almost like you're in a Bruce Lee movie and you're just in the shoes. Like I really like that concept, but it's tough to deny like the difficulty aspect, and it's not just okay, this is hard, get better and you'll get through it. It's like I mean, you brought up a lot of great points on the review there of just like it makes it not really rewarding of getting through that difficulty bar. Like it's tough, and I can't deny that. Even though I do like what the game is, I'm not gonna never go back to it. I definitely want to jump back in there, just to kick some ass. But and hopefully I can progress through those later missions because I don't even know what all the levels are, unfortunately, because I just wasn't able to get through that third mission. But yeah, no, I have not jumped back into that one.
That's too bad. So what have you been? What have you been playing?
Yes.
We'll kind of jump back and forth. But what's a game you've been playing?
Yeah, so I was mentioning to you just breaking the fourth wall on Discord there. I was jumping back into Deathloop not too long ago, and I just started like a fresh save. I just wanted to go in there like a brand new experience. I hadn't really played it since around the time that we did our review for it, which that was a nice lengthy one. And I lent it to a buddy, and then I finally got it back from him, and I jumped in there and. Man, like, I don't know if they did updates or something on that, or people have just been grinding like crazy, but I must say, I've been getting just bopped by Juliana, like, so hard. Like, I know you can get, like, different, like, they're kind of like weapon perks, like, they just do, like, this one, it just drains, like, your power if you get shot by it, and she was just getting me from all angles, and I was just getting absolutely murked to the point that I actually had to like turn off the online mode just for a little bit, just because it was getting a little too crazy. I mean, that person might have been just playing like nonstop since the game came out.
That's what I was gonna say. I feel like anyone who's still in there playing Juliana, like, or at least most of them, are gonna be the hardcore fans who have been playing since September. So yeah, I feel like it's gonna. That's something that I'm really excited for when that game does come to Xbox and Game Pass inevitably, because I'm gonna hop back in there and just slay all these
fresh
noobs
crowd.
on a
Yeah,
fresh save.
exactly.
I'm excited for that time, but I think now hopping in, the online part of it might not be as great as when it first came out, which is unfortunate, but is kind of the nature of doing something like that.
Oh, absolutely. And like also like because I had started a fresh save, like I didn't have any powers or anything like that. Like I still had the basic weapons, so it would have been really tough even if I was really trying for the Juliana stuff. But honestly, like just playing through that game, and not really like, okay, I got to beat this game by this date so that we can review the story and stuff like that. Like just going in nice and slow. I'm going like completely different paths and like locations that I normally would, and just taking the time to just really breathe in the world. It's such a fun experience, man. I absolutely love that game. Like when I booted it up,
the quest markers off as I.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Nice.
I wish I knew that the first time around. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. It's a whole whole different experience. I actually did that on another game. Maybe I can transition here. I started playing Death Stranding again.
Oh, I'd love to hear
That was one where I just loved everything about it, but for whatever reason, I just stopped at like whatever chapter I was on. And this time around, I have the director's cut, so I actually never owned it on PS4. I only borrowed your copy.
Right.
So now I have like the PS5 version, and I have like I upgraded my TV, so I have a nice OLED now, and it just
Nice.
runs so smooth on the PS5, and it looks so good. Like during the cutscenes, I'm like standing right next to my TV, and I'm like, this is just a window to real life. Like these are just real people right now.
You're
Like
just
I just
talking to
can't.
Mads Mikkelsen. Yeah.
I just can't get over how good the game looks. But yeah, I actually turned off like all like the I don't know if it's all the markers, but like the markers that'll just tell you where cargo is.
Okay.
So there'll be like a little strand in the air to whether it's like a post box or like just other cargo in the world, and it just allowed me to just completely get lost in the world. And I'm just going really slow. I'm just doing really like minor deliveries. I've been rebuilding those roads and just going out in the world, being a porter, and man, it's so fun. It's a similar way that I'm playing Deathloop right now. Just it's a different type of game, but still just not really having a goal, just going in there and just, oh, what's over here? Let's go wander over here. And then I find some random cargo. And because I didn't have like the marker for it, it feels rewarding when I come across it. And then it's just like, oh, what's this? And then read the details. I've just, been having so much fun with that. So that's been lots of fun.
One thing I was curious about when me and Travis reviewed that game was, a big part of that game, very much Soulsy in its way, is that people will put down ladders in one world or a bridge or whatever other tool, and then other players can interact with it. Playing the game, I mean, I guess the director's cut is still newish, so I'm sure there's a lot of people in there, but is there still a lot of stuff around the world, or is it too much stuff because the game's been out for so long that there's just fucking ladders on every wall? How does that online interactive part come into it?
Yeah, I'm like when I first booted it up, when I first got the director's cut, I noticed right away that there was a lot more just like evidence of other porters out in the world, just a lot more stuff than the first time I even played it. Which wasn't like right around the release. Like you guys had played it, did the review, and then I think that was before you had lent it to me. So it wasn't right at release, but still there was some time. But even since then, I've noticed a lot of stuff has been added, but I don't think it's overdone. Like I still feel like I have to plan my routes. It's not like, okay, I'll just go here and then I'll just bet on that a bunch of different porters just left a bunch of stuff for me to traverse. Like I do feel responsible for my own gear and planning in that sense, but I feel like most of it is in like the common areas of just signs and like your little keep on keeping on. I love those messages, just dropping likes here and there. But I think they do a good job at balancing it so it's not just overdone.
They must have some like within whatever 100 kilometers or something, you can only get this many things spawned in to make it not
exactly.
overbearing.
Yeah, because otherwise it would just be game breaking. Because
it'd be too easy too.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice, that's awesome. I'm glad you're playing two of my favorite games. So
I know. I was telling Travis I was jumping into Death Stranding. He was definitely I'd say, I don't know, proud of me. It's about time, maybe one of those in between there. But
it's a long game, so I mean, buckle in because if you're going to see it,
absolutely,
it is quite the journey.
And it's just, I can't get over how smooth it runs on the PS5. Like the load times are like instant, and it's just very smooth, 60 frames, like during everything. I think they even added like a widescreen mode, so you get just so much more of the world. I found it made like the text just way too small for me. I just couldn't read anything, so I had to put it back on the other one. But it even has like the nice like black bars, so it just feels like a movie when you're watching it. I'm
excited to jump back into that one someday when I get my PS5 is when I'll upgrade the director's cut.
One last thing I'll say on that game too, I never. Maybe I won't say I never realized, but I kind of forgot just how beautiful the soundtrack is. I've been listening to it just at work and everything. It's so good. And then when like the certain songs just come in while you're just, climbing up a hill or something with like all your bags, it just like you forget that you're playing a video game. You're like, I am just rebuilding America right now on my own, traversing. That game is so special. I am just so thankful for Hideo Kojima.
A one of a kind game for sure.
Absolutely.
One of the games. So I wanted to do a little update on Tunic because me and Taylor talked about that last week, And behind the scenes, we did a cast the other night, Geek First, and before we went live, I was just like, oh, I just beat Tunic, and oh man, the ending wasn't that good. And I was saying I was a bit bummed, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to update on that. So Tunic, yeah, last week me and Taylor talked about it a lot, so go back and check that out. And there is there's this, you get to this point in the game where you can challenge this boss, okay? And when you beat that boss, that activates the credits, and you've done it. You beat the game. But and so that's what I was talking about when I was talking to you guys on Thursday, whatever it was. I had just done that, and you know what? I'm not even going to call it cheese, but in the accessibility options, you can turn on a no fail mode, which just makes combat like you just can't die. And truthfully, I wasn't that engaged with the combat, and there was a couple points that were a little tedious. So I'm like, I'm just going to put this no fail mode on and just cruise through because I'm in this for the exploration, puzzles, and things like that. And so I think that boss fight I probably shouldn't have been able to beat it, or I would have done it and realized like, okay, I really shouldn't be doing this. But I did it and I got the credits. I was like, okay, this is kind of a weird ending. But I knew that, okay, there's a few more doorways I hadn't opened yet. I hadn't figured out how to get them. So I went back in there and just discovered this whole other part of this game. I compared the game to a Zelda, like Dark Souls crossover. There's like a third very prominent game that's totally hidden in there. I don't even want to say what it is because that would spoil like what people would look at the game totally differently. But there's this whole other element to it. It recontextualizes the whole world, and it has legitimately, I think maybe my single favorite puzzle in any video game ever. It is this crazy thing that you should have seen. Like I had pieces of paper all over my house, just like writing out theories and things. Awesome. I was cutting out little puzzles to piece things together to figure out how they worked. I was just going crazy, and it was one of these. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I'd be like brushing my teeth at night, and I would have this moment. It would click. I'm like, I know how to solve that puzzle. I'd go boot up the game, even though it was late at night. And I just got so lost in it, and it's hard, and the puzzles are difficult, and I think the game really is designed to be a community thing where you're playing it with friends or just people through Discord servers, which is what I used to get a couple hints when I was stuck in places. And I think that's really how it is kind of designed to kind of share this experience with people. It even says that like in game at places, like share your knowledge with people. And anyway, so this other route that I went down, which leads to this kind of alternate ending, was just such a beautiful ending. I had tears in my eyes. Like I said, maybe the best video game puzzle of all time. Just amazing game. I recommended it a lot last week, but I want to even double, triple down on that because
that's awesome.
Tunic is an incredibly special game. I think it's going to stick with me for a long time. And yeah, like legitimately maybe want to become one of my all-time favorites. Like it's really, really good. And yeah, like I said, the combat wasn't really for me. And I also feel I played the game on keyboard, and I feel like the game was really designed with controller in mind. There's a couple puzzles that, without spoiling how you solve them, just would have been way more intuitive on a controller. I'll say that. So I have a couple negatives, but the positives are so high that I don't even care that I didn't even like the combat because those things are just so good. So I had to come back and praise Tunic a little bit more.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I love listening to you and Taylor talk about it. Shay was even interested just from the thumbnail. She's like, "What is this really cute looking game that I want to get a part of?" Unfortunately, it's not on PlayStation or Switch, and we don't have an Xbox, and she doesn't play on PC or anything like that. So, maybe one day it'll be more accessible to other consoles.
While it is a single player game, I think it would be a good couples game to play, to figure out some of these puzzles together and share your knowledge between each other, brainstorm some ideas. So when it does, because I think it's inevitable, it'll come to Switch and PlayStation down the line, I'm sure. So yeah, hopefully when it comes to those platforms, you guys pick it up and can
absolutely.
Did you have other games that you wanted to show in this section?
I mean, they did a nice update on Warzone. If you follow the the podcast
I've been very
crew,
out of the Warzone world. Is it like a new map or new mode? What's
going on? Like the Rebirth Island one. It was a smaller map where you'd kind of respawn if your teammate's just still alive. They kind of redid that one. I think they just made it more. I don't know, Vanguard. It's like World War II is the current era of the latest game. So I think they just redid it in that sense and like completely redid like a lot of the areas. Wow. And it's nice when they do that every once in a while because it just breathes, fresh life into the game. If you've played the same map like however many times, it's nice when they shift it up and they just introduce some new gameplay elements into that. And so yeah, me, Travis, Taylor, Emily were playing into the wee hours on Friday night last weekend, and lots of fun. Always good times. It's funny, just we always mention this, but just the fact that we're all just we've all just jumped back into Call of Duty,
Mhm.
like in this era. I
Unexpected,
totally
yeah.
totally thought I would have written off that game series, but yeah, no, credit to them. They're doing awesome of just revitalizing people's interest in
Mhm.
the game series. That's the word I
Yeah,
was
I
looking
keep
for.
meaning to jump back in. I just so many other games I'm playing right now.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
can't blame you. There's so much good stuff out there, and even more to come.
Yeah. So I just have a couple other games I want to mention. I mean, just Elden Ring and Triangle Strategy. I'm still plugging through those. Elden Ring, I'm taking it very slow. I'm at like 40 hours now, level 67. I'm in the royal capital of Lindal is the area I'm in for the people who've played the game. Just to give you an idea where I'm at, and it's great. It keeps opening up even more and more every. Like this area I'm in now is just ridiculously huge. Like there's all these alleyways and rooftops you can go on, and all these side passages. It's just insane. So I've accepted that I've heard everyone say the game's like 80 to 100 hours. So I'm like not even halfway through, or maybe I am at halfway through. So I'm just taking my time. I'm in no rush. It might take me another 2 or 3 months to beat this game. I'll do it. Well, assuming that the end game isn't just horrible. Because it's fun. I'm just in no rush at this point because I'm already kind of behind the curve in terms of most people beating
Yeah.
it.
I haven't played the game. I will get there one day, but I have a buddy that I work with who he's huge into Souls genre. Like he's played all the games, he's beat them all, and he like min maxes them like just
Yeah.
hardcore. And I was very surprised actually because he said like that game was 10 out of 10 for him, like in the early to mid game, and he actually really really dislikes the end game. He thinks that they kind of made it like it's a hard game, but
hmm
like it's just ridiculously difficult in the
I've heard
end.
some of those
And
last bosses are kind of bullshit, so we'll see how I
yeah,
feel.
and like I was very shocked. He actually has it like the lowest out of all the Souls games
Whoa,
on his
that's
list. I know,
crazy.
very very shocking. I think he has Sekiro like top, Dark Souls 3,
hmm
Bloodborne up there as well.
Yeah,
But I think he has it just above Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 is kind of known as just the lesser of the series.
sure. Yeah.
But and for him it was all to do with the end game stuff. Again, I'm kind of speaking through someone else. This isn't my own opinions here, but
No,
I was kind of shocked
I've
about
heard
it
that
because
for
he was
sure.
10
Yeah.
out of 10, and then I talked to him and he's like, I don't know what it is, man. They fucked up the end game, and I was like, whoa, that's kind of shocking because I've only heard such good things and great praise from it so far, right?
hmm Yeah, I'm curious because I mean, even thinking about Dark Souls 3, some of the bosses in the DLC in particular were very savage, but I really enjoyed figuring them out. And they took me hours and hours and days to figure them out. And they were just long, arduous fights that some of them were like 3 phases long, just fucking brutal. But I liked it. It took a
Yeah.
long time. It was hard. It
Do
was
you have your papers out like
I
you're
had to
doing
like
the
get the
puzzles in Tunic?
mentality and all together to be able to do it. So hopefully they're not too ridiculous because
Yeah.
I don't know.
I will say too, has stated that he really hates the summons system. He just refuses to use it. So he he beat the game without
Yeah, well,
using
there you
them,
go.
which I know makes it
You're
way
not
harder.
engaging with the core mechanic of the game.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's
He has himself to blame there.
he's giving himself a greater challenge. But
Yeah.
I know Souls fans are all about that. Like they
Yeah.
have this
Absolutely.
purity. You have to play in this pure way, or else it doesn't count. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm gonna summon this ghost eagle to help me fight
Yeah.
this boss every day of the week.
I've told myself I'm not gonna get it till I can at least beat a Souls game, and I have Dark Souls remastered. It's like
Mhm.
the PlayStation 4
Nice.
version. It was on sale not too long, and gotten pretty far into it. But yeah, there's
Cool.
been a lot of moments when
Which area are you kind of working through now?
like the what's it called? The like not the Undercity. The
Oh, Blighttown.
yeah, fuck Blighttown, man.
Yeah.
That is
That's kind of the notorious like meme, right? Like
yeah.
fuck
Oh,
Blighttown,
it's
yeah.
ridiculous. So I haven't even played it in like months. I
Mhm.
think I was really really into it, and then I just got really stuck there. But
I quit at
one
the
day.
Crystal Caves. That's where I was. Not into that.
No.
Not my cup of tea. um, and then yeah, Triangle Strategy, which is I
Right.
talked about this at some point that it was. I was saying to Travis like, okay, I'm really close to beating it. I think it's one of those games, man. As soon as I beat it, I'm gonna start a second playthrough, and that is true. As the same day I finished the game, I booted up that second save because I want to see the different story choices. I want to check out the different classes, and that's been very rewarding so far. The story has taken some minor diversions in the choices I've made, but they're still interesting to see. But it really is for me like seeing these different classes. They just did such a great job of making each character and each class super unique in that game. I really want you to try this game. So I have it physical,
Yeah.
and next time I'm in Kelowna and I'm done with it, if you're interested, I
Oh, right
definitely
on.
would lend that to you because from the Fire Emblem perspective, I'd love to hear what you think of this. I don't know what you think about the story necessarily. If you'd like it, it seems like most people think it's a bit too heavy-handed. I enjoyed it, but in terms of the strategy, it's just a fucking amazing, really
That's
good,
awesome.
difficult, different kinds of strategy. A lot of different things you have to think about. Each character is super unique, so I'm loving triangle strategy right now.
Is this the one from the same makers of Octopath Traveler?
Yes
Or
and no.
no? Okay.
It's some of the same team for sure. It's a different. It's weird. It's a different studio, but then it's like one of the producers of Octopath Traveler. There's the director here, and like you can definitely tell a lot of the art team is the same.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say the
it's
art very much reminded me of
yeah.
that.
Even like the character art, obviously the art style and like the engine is similar. So yes and no. It's some of the same team, but not
Okay.
the same studio. I don't know exactly what percentage it would be, but yeah, it's I mean it's a different genre and whatnot. So it's a new take using that same kind of aesthetic. But yeah,
Okay, but
I
they're
think you'd
both
like
from
it.
Square Enix.
Yeah, they're published by
Okay.
the same. Yeah,
Publish, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, and honestly, between Elden Ring, Triangle Strategy, and Tunic, like I don't I try not to get too in the weeds of game of the year discussions when it's not the end of the year and it's only March right now. But between those three games, man, like it's gonna be a banger year because I could make a case for any three of those right now. I'm just
Yeah.
loving them all so much. Like it's been such a fucking good year this year. I am just so happy with
That's
the
awesome.
games. Yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to shout out quickly is Thomas Was Alone is this platformer, the simple kind of 2D platformer that I think it came out like 2011. It's kind of an older game that I've been playing through recently. Yeah, like I said, it's very simple, but it's a fun story. It's kind of this British humor. It's from Mike Bithell, who's this indie developer that I'm a fan of. He's on Play, Watch, Listen, which is a really good gaming podcast. And yeah, it's just a fun. So if anyone's like playing, I played it on Switch, and I'd recommend it there. It's like 10, $12, something inexpensive like that. Just a simple 2D platformer, some cool mechanics, and fun storytelling. So I really don't have too much to say about it. It didn't blow my socks off by any means, but just a fun, simple platformer. So I wanted to shout that one out as well. I recently beat that game. So
Nice.
yeah. Okay. Any other things you want to shout out before we talk about some news? Get into the news topics.
Let's jump into the news.
All right. Let's take a quick ad break. We come back. We will get into this news. And we are back. Kirkland, we got 3 topics in the news section here today. First, let's talk about Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed is the name of this game. This was announced last week. It's from Ilphonic, the developer of Friday the 13th, Predator Hunting Grounds, and it's very much the same thing, a 4v1 kind of asymmetrical competitive multiplayer game where, one team's going to play as the Ghostbusters, and then the other person's going to play as the ghosts, I guess. You're going to control multiple ghosts and choose where to send them and things like that, I guess. They have a kind of a short trailer and some info on this game. I'm curious where you're at, because I'm not really a Ghostbusters guy at all, but I think you are somewhat of a fan. You're in there. You watched the new one, at least, last year, right?
I haven't seen the new one. Funny enough.
Oh,
No,
what? I thought you
I know.
I thought you had. Okay.
No, I haven't. I've heard it's really good, and I am a fan of like the originals. Just very iconic, the theme song and everything. So yeah, no, I would say I'm a fan. I'm not like a hardcore fan or
Okay.
anything. Obviously, I haven't seen the latest one, but yeah, no, this is kind of cool, honestly, to me. Especially it's by the same people as you just mentioned that made Friday the 13th, Predator Hunting Grounds. I haven't played Predator Hunting Grounds, but Friday the 13th definitely spent a lot of time playing that one. It's tragic how that story kind of ended, which is licensing issues.
It is, yeah.
So the servers kind of shut down. I think now it's only like private games, which never is what you want to see.
Yeah, it's too bad.
So, but honestly, for what the idea of this is, I I feel like I really want to see like a nice stream or like gameplay from both sides, because it's pretty easy, at least from like the trailer, to see what the Ghostbusters are doing. You know, you see their instruments, I guess you'd call them, not really weapons, just their ghost instruments. But yeah, I want to see like how unique it is to be playing the ghosts, because as you were just mentioning, like you kind of send them off into the areas. It's not like you are like the example from Friday the 13th. You're Jason, like you are the one entity. It's like, okay, you're all the ghosts. So that's really interesting to me. Really love the art style, just really cartoony, looks really fun. And yeah, no, this is a. I'm definitely gonna have it on my radar and just seeing how it goes because I can't remember if I've ever played Friday the 13th with you, but I've definitely played a few games with Taylor and Travis, and
Yeah.
there's definitely been some good laughs playing those games. Just trying to coordinate and just seeing your other members just get marked. Ghostbusters is pretty tame compared to Friday the 13th, so I don't think there's like fatalities in that sense. But yeah, I think this would be at least a fun stream game, with the boys.
Definitely. Yeah, I did play some Friday the 13th. I don't think I owned the game, or I think it was maybe a PlayStation Plus game. So I think I probably do own it, but I really only played it, I think maybe at Travis's place or something like this, just messing around on a stream. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I think, between this, they have the pedigrees there. They've worked on these kind of games before. So I have to imagine that this game's going to be pretty solid at least. They've got the online infrastructure of it down. They've thought about how do you balance and design a 4v1 competitive multiplayer game, which I think is probably quite a bit of a challenge. So yeah, I think all the pieces are here for this game to be a success. And yeah, Ghostbuster, it seems like Afterlife was, I don't know, had its fans like kind of very 50-50 maybe. Maybe people liked it more than they
Is
did.
that the latest movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard good things. Honestly,
Yeah.
from everyone that has seen it, they said it was.
It seems like maybe like critically panned, but then
Yeah.
fans really liked it. So maybe that's more important. I don't know. Anyway, I think whatever it is, Ghostbusters is in a place right now where it's somehow still relevant. Like all these years later, I feel like it was on ice for quite a while, but then there was a movie a few years ago that wasn't really a hit, but at least it's kind of got people talking about it again. And then this new movie, which is pretty decent apparently. So yeah, I think this is fun. I think I would check this out. I don't know if I think for me it would really depend on where it's gonna. I mean, it's playable on all the platforms, but is this a Game Pass thing? Would it be a PlayStation Plus? I think maybe Predator Hunting Grounds also was PlayStation Plus at one point, or at least they had a free weekend or something like that. So if there's some ways to get in there and try the game without having to jump in with the full price, I think I would definitely check it out. And who knows? Even though I'm not a Ghostbusters guy in terms of the IP, if the gameplay is really fun, I'd be definitely down to get into it. So
absolutely,
yeah, it's pretty early on. I mean, they did announce it's coming out Q4 of this year, so I don't know. I haven't kept up too much with Ilphonic. I don't know how they are with their release dates, if they're pretty on it, but that's quite a few months away. So I feel like pretty good they're going to hit that. The trailer they showed off, they did show off some basic gameplay trailers, so you can at least see the game in action. So it's not just a concept at this point. And yeah, Predator Hunting Grounds I think was 2019. I want to say maybe it was 2020, but it's been a few years, so they've had some time to work on this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always fun to have a game like this that's cross-platform too. It just gets so many more avenues, to play with buddies. Whether you can play on whatever you want. Maybe not Switch. Maybe I didn't see the Switch on there.
Yeah, I see PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox. Yeah, all the Xboxes. So yeah, no Switch, but is that really surprising to anyone? I don't think so. Maybe down the line. I don't know. Because honestly, graphically, it wasn't blowing me away. So I think it could. I mean, I don't know if the multiplayer infrastructure is there. I'm trying to think. Is there games that have? Because I think like Fortnite, maybe Rocket League have crossplay between Switch and other consoles. So I think it's definitely doable, right?
Yeah, I play Rocket League with a buddy, and he's on the Switch.
I think it's more just that that Nintendo, when they make multiplayer, it usually sucks because they're not good at doing that, or they don't care, they don't put the budget into it. But yeah, if crossplay with like a notable studio, it's probably gonna be pretty solid. So
yeah,
that'll be a fun one. Next up is so GTA 5 is officially getting a subscription service called GTA Plus, which I don't know why that name just makes me laugh. It's just so generic, and it works. It totally fits. It's just funny to me. But yeah, this is a subscription service that I'm reading from Twin Infinite here, which is a site I usually go to for some gaming news. But it looks like it's gonna be $5.99 a month, so that's I think US dollars, I would suppose. I guess you can either have GTA 5 or GTA Online is a thing they sell separately, so you need to have one of those things in the first place. And yeah, pretty much I think the main thing is you're just going to get money every month. You're going to get like $500,000 in-game, of course, and just access to different vehicles, upgrades, looks like yachts and basketball shorts. I don't know if you're into that. I don't know if you'd spend $6 a month to get basketball shorts. But anyway, you get a lot of stuff. So yeah, I'm curious what you think about this because GTA 5 is such an old game at this point, but here we are this many years later getting a subscription service.
Yeah, it's very, very strange to me. I feel like it's one thing to just have it like live this long, GTA Online. Like I still have friends lists. I still have friends on my friends list that I see them like that's their main game. It seems every time they're on that they're playing GTA Online, and um,
I'm gonna go
like
on Twitch right now and see how many people are.
it's probably pretty up there, honestly. That's my guess is top 10. I mean, is that too generous? I don't know if it's top 5. I'd say top 10.
Let me do this up. Let's see what we got here. So live channels, we have 784,000 viewers. Or sorry, that's followers. Wait, how many viewers do we got right now for GTA 5? Oh shit, I went to GTA 4. That was like, I'm like, why is there only 40 people watching this game right now?
That's such a GTA 4.
Okay, we got 200,000 viewers. I'm rounding up, but 200,000 viewers-ish. So that's pretty solid for how old that game is.
Yeah, absolutely. And like they definitely do a good job with the GTA Online of just like adding new things all the time, and like I feel like they add a lot of things that rewards people that grind it out, and I feel like a service like this, it's I don't know, like I'm curious to hear someone's opinion that like plays the game to like see if they are getting robbed. Like, oh, I put in all this time and now they're just it's basically pay to win, because that's essentially what it is, right? You're getting the in-game currency to just. But
it's always been that way, right? Like this is just a different way that it's pay to win, right? Because you could always
you're right.
You
could always okay, I forgot about that. You could always get the shark cards, and then this you just get the 500,000 every month if you're subscribing to it, which it's so weird to me, honestly. Like I try and. I feel like I'm trying to play devil's advocate and like defend it here, but it's strange. It's
yeah, it's weird to me. But I'm honestly, when I saw this, I was almost surprised that it hadn't happened sooner. It's like, well, of course. And I think about games like this, like obviously there's like World of Warcraft and MMOs like that, but for GTA feels different than those. And the other one that I would compare it to would be Fallout 76, which I remember when that got a subscription service. That was very different because everyone has always liked GTA 5, but Fallout 76 was, everyone was hating on that game, and then they're like, we hate this game, but if you give us $20 a month, or it was that's the thing, it was a ridiculous price, where it was like more than Netflix for the monthly Fallout 76 pass. Whereas this seems better to me because the price is like kind of in line with like a Twitch subscription. It's pretty much the same price as that, which feels maybe more accurate when you're just subscribing to just one game and a GTA game like this. So I think for those fans, like that seems like a fair price. Like I spend that much on a Twitch subscription every month, like without really thinking about it. It's not that much money. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it doesn't seem egregious, but I guess I just really wonder what's gonna happen with GTA next, because GTA 6 is definitely in the works, right? When it's gonna come out, who knows? I feel like what they're gonna do is whatever that new map is, they're gonna roll that into online, and then GTA 6 will be its own like story thing. Is that kind of what you foresee, or do you think they'll go some different route with this kind of in the game now?
Yeah, no, I think you're dead on. Honestly, I think they'll go there, because I mean the start of this online, it was pretty what's the right term for it? It was a bit of a story, right? Like you're playing this character that's going, and you're meeting these certain characters, and then I think after, I don't know if that was even like a pro. It's been so long since I've like started the GTA Online thing, because I was back on my PS4.
Yeah.
But like it'd be kind of storytelling, and then it would jump into just like the free roam. You can do whatever you want, and then those characters that you met kind of in like the prologue of the online, they would just be like your mission givers. I think they'll just. I actually didn't play any of Red Dead 2 online, and I imagine it was sort of similar, where it's kind of I don't know, the bit of a storytelling, and then it jumps into the free roam stuff. And I think they'll just multiply that for GTA 6.
Well, yeah, I know the GTA community has gone pretty hard with the role play part of it, which I don't even know, because I am seeing here on like one of the rewards is like 3x GTA cash and RP on something Special Works Race Series. I don't know what the fuck that means, and I don't know if the RP means role play in that, but I feel like
that's reputation points. I think that was like your level.
Okay, so that's not
online.
the role. That's not related to role play. I didn't know if RP was like this role play, like there's role play currency, and there's other currency. But anyway, that community is huge because of the role play part of it still.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that falls into like a new game and new setting and all that. And because I just don't know what people do. I really have not dipped into it in so long that I feel like I've just aged and I don't understand this old reference, like it's crazy to me because I was there playing online at the start and I just cannot imagine still playing it a decade later. But,
Yeah.
Content's there, so
Absolutely. It's weird to me, I log into my PlayStation and it just shows me like a new DLC for this game. They got like Dr. Dre and stuff in there now. It's like I can't believe this is just like still new content. Like I understand, remasters for the next gen consoles and stuff like this, but like an actual just getting fresh content that I've never experienced. I probably haven't experienced the last 15 updates that they've done on GTA Online.
Which location do you want to see for GTA 6?
You
want to go back to an old favorite, like a New York or Miami again? Do you want to see a new spot?
Just take me to Canada. I know that will never happen, but that's the meme pick I'll throw out there. Liberty City was really, really awesome, honestly. GTA 4, I remember the first time I played that back on like 360. Like I remember playing that and being like, wow, like this feels like real life. And it's so funny because it's like dated compared to like GTA
I played
5
it recently
coming out and stuff like that.
Oh my god, that game looks like shit. Like
the
graphics are so bad.
But like back in the day, I remember just thinking like the lighting and everything was just so next level.
It was very
and the
moody
effects
game.
of everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean that's going from GTA San Andreas, and that was very like blocky and cartoony with the characters.
Yeah.
But
it's been so long since GTA 4 at this point. But it feels weird on paper to say that they would go from New York to LA back to New York like the game after. But it has been like so many years. Whereas back in the day, like GTAs were coming out every 2 or 3 years, 4 years maybe. So yeah, it's just crazy how long the development cycle's been on this. That it wouldn't feel weird if they went immediately back to where they did before. And man, New York GTA on next gen, that would be cool. That'd be like the Cyberpunk promise. Hinting at our next topic here. That'd be like the Cyberpunk promise, but over in the GTA world. So that would be cool.
That'd be absolutely insane. I know. I was even like wondering to myself if they want to keep it in like the continental United States or like maybe jump seas, do something in Europe. I think that could be really fun too.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
I don't think they will. I think they'll just stay in the States, and which is too bad. But I don't know. It's just the way it's gonna be.
What other areas are like that level in the States, like you have New York and then you have LA and like a lot of people have sentimental value with like Vice City, and I guess that'd be like Miami and Florida and stuff like that, and like that could be really fun too. I really liked it for that game, Vice City, of just like like the stereotypical like flamingo shirts and like the white pants, like Tony Montoya. Tony Montana, I don't know why I said Montoya. Just Scarface, that type of aesthetic. That's really fun, but I feel like to make that fresh, it would just feel like a remaster of that. So, and like modern Florida isn't as appealing to me than like the one in the 80s, like that era.
That's true.
So it's tough for me to like, okay, well, where else do they go other than just doing all of the U.S. one day?
I know. Yeah. I mean, I guess I could see them doing San Francisco. That would be really fun to drive around San Francisco, I think. That'd be cool. I mean, I'd love to see we're never going to get Canada, but I'd love to see Pacific Northwest, like Seattle and that area, Oregon, stuff like that. Because, I mean, the areas are pretty huge. They really take some neighboring areas. It's not strictly just this one zone. Or at least GTA 5, like, you're getting pretty far out there into the desert and stuff. So I would like to see Pacific Northwest, I think, because then we'd kind of get those Vancouver vibes. That same kind of nature and stuff like that. You'd have a good mix of cities, water locations, into the forest nature. I think that'd be really cool, and I want to see that area more in games like this. I feel like for some reason not enough games in Pacific Northwest.
That was one of my favorite things about San Andreas, which I guess is technically like the same map as GTA 5. Is like you have the city, but then you can just go out into the country, and like you have completely different just I don't know, aesthetic with like the trees and the mountains and stuff like that. And like you mentioned, like if they do the Pacific Northwest, it's the Rockies. You got so many like forests and stuff like that. That'd be lots of fun. I know it's not the most, I don't know, appealing to the general audience member. I know they want their big cities. I think they'll always have that, especially with the scale that they show that they can achieve in GTA 5. So yeah. Very interested in seeing that, and I'll be probably buying that on multiple consoles. multiple generations.
I mean, I've bought GTA 5 3 times, so
Yeah.
I'll probably do it again. And I think for this GTA Plus, I don't think any Geek First members will be picking that up. I
No.
hope someone in our Discord is into it. I feel like no one ever talks about it, so maybe there isn't a big GTA fan, but hopefully someone in the Discord is into that, because I like to hear the kind of monthly updates of is this feeling worth it? Is the exclusive content and clothing and vehicles you're getting worth it, or are you really just in it for the money? And like, I wonder where that money, like 500,000 in-game currency, how does that relate to shark cards? Like, would you be better just to get that if you don't care about the other stuff? So I don't know. We'll see what happens when that. Well, I should have looked this up. Does it say when this is coming out? When this is dropping?
March 29th, I think.
Okay, yeah, so it's starting right away. So I feel like they've maybe announced this before, but I just saw it recently, so I don't know.
Tomorrow.
I don't know if they announced have talked about this coming to the game. But anyway, it's the first time I saw it. But so yeah, I guess it's coming out this week. There you go. Let's see. Our last news topic is once again kind of I don't even know. It's not even a teaser. It's less than a teaser. It's just a basic announcement.
A reminder.
A reminder. CD Projekt Red has officially announced the next Witcher game. They had one image, I guess you would call it, and really, I think the big thing with the announcement was that they mentioned that they're going to be switching to Unreal Engine 5. And I looked into this, and it looks like their previous games, so Cyberpunk, Witcher 3, and before that, were on their own engine. I forget the name of it. It's called like Red Engine or something like that. So they're officially switching over to Unreal Engine 5, which from the stuff we've seen, holy shit, Unreal Engine 5 is going to be pretty crazy. So that's pretty exciting, I will say. And then I think the only other thing that I've seen really about this is, they've had some statements that they're going to make this game without any crunch this time, which to that I say, I'll see it when I believe it. But for right now, that is absolutely meaningless for a game that's coming out in 7 years or whatever it's going to be. So yeah, that's about it. Kirkland, you're a much bigger Witcher fan than I am. So how did this news hit you?
It's funny because I am like I don't know where I would put myself as like the Witcher fan. I've read some of the books, not all of them, but I really 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 love just what the world is and the lore and the characters and just that play on like, okay, there's this badass monster hunter, but like the real monsters of the world aren't the monsters that like appear to be monsters. So like that, it's just so much deeper than you would expect on just a monster slaying story. So for me, that was really, really cool. Characters are like probably my favorite thing about the whole series. But yeah, no, so I absolutely love Witcher 3. I think it's like a masterpiece of a game. Really, really loving the show and everything. So it's awesome, just the popularity of The Witcher. It just seems like it's never been more popular. So it's awesome because it just leads to more content, whether it's on film or in video games and stuff like this. So when this announcement happened, I don't want to say like I just expected it to be a thing, but when I saw it, I didn't really react like at all. It was just like, okay, that there's no date or anything. Like this probably won't be out for like ever, honestly. Like maybe the tail end of this generation of console.
Sure.
I don't know if that's a bold prediction. I feel like that's pretty safe. Like all we get really is this little image of the new pendant, which I think people are kind of speculating it's the Lynx or something like that. I have no knowledge on like what school that could be. I've heard some murmurs, and again, I don't know if this is believable or anything like this. I just heard it through the grapevine that some people are speculating it might be like for lack of a better term, like choose your own Witcher sort of thing. Like maybe it'll be, as opposed to just jumping in the boots of Geralt, the Witcher, like the wolf. It would be maybe like a unique new story that's not directly following the books, which I see pros and cons to both sides of it. Like since you're following the source material from the novels, it's like a really rich story that's already there. So they have a lot of stuff to pull from, and it leads to just really developed characters already, and then like the game developers can kind of I don't know, just relay that information like in their own way to the player, if that makes any sense.
Well, I mean, obviously like they take changes because your choices have consequences, and obviously in the book one path is going to be chosen.
Yeah.
So when you say that, do you think it would be they would create a character and let's say his name is Bill and you play as Bill and Bill has the same voice and looks the same for every player and they have one set story, or would it be that you create this avatar who maybe you can name them, maybe you can change the way they look? Like what do you think it would be in that path?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, just comparing it to The Witcher 3, you have Geralt, who's just this he is like that's Geralt. It doesn't matter if I make this decision, like he's still talking the same.
He might have a different outfit on or something.
Yeah, exactly. But like he already has this history with a lot of the characters that he meets. So I really like that sense because it's like, okay, the dialogue is really well structured. It's not like Fallout 4, for example. You know, like every dialogue, okay, it's read from a voice actor, but like each voice dialogue option would just be very generic, and it wouldn't really be, I don't know, that thought out. It would be like every like you've played the game, you understand. It's like aggressive no, regular no, you know, like something like that. Whereas like in The Witcher 3, like maybe he brings up this story that like these two characters were part of, and us, the viewer, don't even understand what's going on, but like there's this inside joke that these two characters have. I feel like you kind of lose that if you just make it really I don't know, like customizable for the player. But on one side, I tend to actually really like those types of stories where you are like the protagonist and you can kind of choose your own path. Elder Scrolls games are like that. I really like just having my own decisions in that regard. It's tough because I see pros and cons to both sides of it. I think it would be really cool to be able to kind of have your own custom Witcher, and you could make it female or male. It's a little bit harder that way because you have to have, you know, two different people do all the same voice lines and everything like that.
Just to put this, I mean, Cyberpunk, their most recent game, you are definitely playing as V, and everyone who plays the game is playing as V, but you still have you can choose your voice and your look. You can change, obviously that's kind of more of the Cyberpunk fantasy, is like changing your character, body modification, stuff like that. But you know, you are still playing as this set character in this world, and yes, you can make some different story choices and things will, you know, branch a different way, but everyone is still playing as V. It's like your V just makes slightly different choices. So I think that they could potentially go more down that route, and I mean, still have the voice acting being done twice over for a woman's voice or a man's voice, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I'm gonna be picking this up. I'm so like enamored with the world and everything, so but I'm halting my excitement right now because it's just so far away. Like you were there with me when we saw Elder Scrolls 6 showed up at E3. How many years ago was that now? And like when it was on screen, I was fucking hyped, but I had to like pinch myself, be like, hey, now you're not gonna see this for like 10 years.
I mean that's exactly what I was gonna bring up is when that was announced to me. That was because they had a bad year with Fallout 76. I mean, not a bad year in sales. They were doing fine financially, but Bethesda had kind of a black mark against their name. People weren't happy with them. They were being very deceptive. They released an unfinished product at full price, all this stuff. And then they dropped this Elder Scrolls 6 announcement, which was, just a tease, just to get some fans back on their side. And yes, go back to our E3 reaction. I popped off when it happened, but then like, you know, later it's like, well, obviously there's not really much substance to this. It was just trying to make some fans happy and forget about this bad thing they did last year. And that's very much what this feels like to me, where, Cyberpunk, they're still releasing all these updates all the time for it, but I played that game and I really enjoyed that game, but it also was an early access game that they didn't tell you was an early access game. They tried to pretend it wasn't the whole time. And they still haven't fixed it. Like they've changed some things, they've fixed some things, but it's still not fixed. So to me, this feels like, okay, let's get people off our trail, give them something else to sniff for a few months here, get them to think about this. And I guess for me, my backstory, I did really enjoy Cyberpunk. Played a little bit of Witcher 3, never really clicked with me, and I have been reading the books. Haven't really caught up with them a little bit lately, but I did finish the first book, and I'm on the second one now. So nice. I'm interested in the world of The Witcher. And I think for me, the change of engine is really exciting because I just really didn't like the combat at all. The game feel of Witcher wasn't there for me. Obviously, the technical part of it, the scale and the world, the level, the characters and the towns and stuff like that. All that stuff's great, but I just didn't really enjoy playing the game physically. The buttons didn't feel good to press. So I think with Unreal Engine, hopefully that will, I mean, one, the fidelity will be higher, but hopefully they just come up with a new combat system because they're going to have to build everything from the ground up, I would assume, if they're switching over an engine like this. And hopefully it just is a lot better. And, you know, we have many years, they have many years to do that. So, and I know they've opened some new I think they opened a studio recently in Vancouver, so they've increased their employee count and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe these other studios are all working on their own thing, not sure, but support studios in some way. So, yeah, I would say I'm excited for this. I don't know if I mean, The Witcher 3 is a weird one because I know I need to go back and give it more of a chance, maybe play some mods and change some stuff around or something. But since I have played it and I wasn't vibing with it, it's like really low on my backlog pile. You know, it's like I'd rather go back to this game I haven't even touched at all. So maybe I'll play it before the next Witcher because I probably have the time. But yeah, I'm saying I'm interested because Cyberpunk was a great game for all the faults it had, and it had a plenty. It still did some amazing things in character and writing that no other game has done. Like, there's a character who's nervous and is fidgeting their foot because they're so nervous in a cutscene, and that stuck with me because no other video game's like ever done that little level of detail, and they have that all the time in there. So I'm interested. I'm interested.
And I must say, like, I feel like something that goes, like, it's kind of overshadowed, but like, the quality of their DLCs is honestly like so respectable in my eyes. Like I think it's the Blood and Wine DLC. They had at least two, and I never played them, but just like hearing from friends, like they add like a whole new game. Like it is so much content to it, and like it's just chef's kiss quality. Like the story,
for
like
years,
they add.
Travis has been like, "Yeah, I'm still playing through that every once in a while," and he's like still enjoying it.
And it's so and like as I said, like I haven't had a chance to play those DLCs. I think they're like $15 a piece, but like with that much content that you're getting for $15, I always told myself I was gonna get it, but now they're actually remastering on the next gen consoles. I think this year it's supposed to come out, so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm definitely gonna be picking that up because it's just an excuse to jump back into the game. Hopefully it just runs really nice 60 frames on the new consoles, because I remember like it did have some performance issues, so I had it on PS4, but like just certain combat, it seemed like I would just get like screen tearing or frame drops and stuff like that. So hopefully it's all nice and polished for the next gen, and yeah, I'll get a chance to jump in those DLCs. And man, I really like the game. I definitely can understand like your issues with the combat. You're not the only person that has said that, but when I played it, at least last time I was playing on like the Death March difficulty. It's like the hardest one you can get, and it really forces you to like do your research. And like I just felt like a Witcher, because they'd be like, "Okay, this monster, you know, because you have like your book of beasts or whatever, so it'd like give their strengths and their weaknesses, and then you learn about like which oils are effective in there. So like if you're just playing on normal mode, like you don't have to do any of that. You could just go in there, spam your attack button, get hit like 100 times, and you're fine. But like I just felt like a Witcher on that hard difficulty. So I'm excited to have an excuse to jump back in there.
I didn't know you were reading the books. Which book, or maybe you were. Which books? How many books have you?
Yeah, so I've read through the first one, which it's like a collection of short stories. Yeah. It's not like the main, like I think it's
I read that one
prequel.
too. I can't remember the name, but
a lot of time skips and stuff. Have you seen the Netflix show?
I haven't yet, actually.
Oh, okay,
I think I was gonna read through the books and then maybe check out the show, and then somewhere in there, you know, boot up the game once again.
So the first season actually follows the events of the first book, where it's like a bunch of short stories. A lot of people had issues because it time jumps a lot, and that's essentially what the first book is, right? Because it'll be like a story about this event, and then it won't even say anything. They'll just like be in another place, and you won't really know what's going on. And some people had issues with the show in that sense. I loved it because I had the knowledge of the book, so I kind of knew what was going on.
Sure. And is that the Sword of Destiny? I pulled up the thing, and I'm trying to just.
I can't even remember the names. I also have them on audiobooks.
There's also The Last Wish. Those are the two short story collections.
So what was the first one you said? The
Sword of Destiny.
I think that was the one I went through. It was a couple years ago when I jumped into it. I think it was like shortly after I played the first game, because then they have like the Blood of Elves. That's like the events of Witcher 3,
right?
With like Cirilla and stuff like that.
Well, I'm happy to know that you are or were reading through them, because next time I jump back in there, we'll have to do a little book club, because I'd love to talk about them.
Dude, absolutely. That sounds awesome. Yeah, because I think I was telling myself, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to work up to Blood of Elves because I'm just so obsessed with this Witcher 3 story. And then just got life happened.
Yeah, I think I
Get a
bought
little
like the
busy.
first 2 or 3. I think I have Blood of
Okay.
Elves over in my room there, so I have no excuse
Nice.
not to read it. It's literally right there. So
A buddy of mine
I
gave
gotta
me a
throw
memory
into that.
stick with all the audiobooks on there too, so that's a
Ooh,
little bit
nice.
easier to digest, when
That's a
you're a
good call.
busy individual. And I'm fortunate I can listen to things at work, so maybe if I'm dead, I can just jump right into an audiobook.
It's cool to have an IP that you can jump into a TV show that's highly produced,
Mm-hmm.
or a game that's revered as maybe the best game of all time, or just of several books. Like that's cool to be able to have these
Yeah.
different ways to jump in and check it out.
And like the author is Polish, and like they're
Mm-hmm.
I think he's Polish. I hope I'm getting that right.
Yep, you're correct.
He like it was originally written all in Polish, so it's
Yeah.
like I feel like it's a type of thing that probably wouldn't have been too well known to Western fans and stuff
Yeah,
like
the
that. But
games
for
really opened it up. For sure.
absolutely, and then now you got Henry Cavill leading the show, and
Yeah.
I personally love the show. I think they do such a good job with it, and it shows Henry Cavill's like passion for the games and the stories. Like he's just really bringing it, and it's
Cool.
it's awesome to see.
Awesome. I think we've kind of talked that topic through. Any last points, or should we move on here?
I think we checked all the boxes.
Boxes are checked. Okay, let's take another ad break. We'll come back and get into our next topic. We are back, and I wanted to hear from Kirkland Patzer on Total War Warhammer 3. I'm gonna say it
You
shorter,
killed it.
but
You killed
I gotta get it in there. Was the full title? First, I want to Warhammer 2.
Mm-hmm.
I just because the way you've talked about it and the amount of hours, is that like a top 10, top 5 favorite game of all time for you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'd say top 5. Honestly,
Ooh,
I
love to
got
see
it
that.
like pretty much prime pandemic.
Nice.
I had a buddy that was telling me about just the Warhammer aspect of what the Total War games. You've probably played a Total War game. It's a pretty lengthy.
I don't think I have.
Oh no,
surprisingly.
okay. Yeah, so they have many games. They have Total War Attila, Rome, Medieval. Medieval is the first one I did. It's just like large scale combat. I think the big key thing there is that it's turn based. So like Civ, you take your turns on the campaign map, but then when you do the battles, you have the chance to auto resolve it, which is like it's like Civ. You have the stronger army, you'll win. I think there's some dice roll elements to it, but it's mostly just if you have the stronger army, you'll win. But then you can actually go into the battles, real-time strategy, and have just massive scaled armies. Like your one unit would be 120 men, and it's just like you could have up to 20 stacks, or 20 unit cards, which would represent like 120 units. And yeah, it's just like it's funny because when you're like learning the game, a lot of people recommend to like read like Sun Tzu's Art of War. Like it's not even like, okay, do this tutorial. No, learn about combat, and that's how you
Yeah.
get better at the game. Because like
That's
just unit
hilarious.
formations and stuff like that, getting really good with cavalry charges and stuff like this. I think that was a huge overwhelming aspect. That's why I like didn't jump into it for a long time, because it's like, yeah, I'm never gonna be able to know all this at least in one sitting. So then pandemic happened. My buddy was telling me about Total War Warhammer, which is Total War, but it's like Lord of the Rings. There's fantasy elements to it.
Hell
There's
yeah.
magic users, there's giant trolls, and that was just so fucking cool to me. So I picked it up. It must have been on sale, one of the many Steam sales throughout the year. And I fell in love with this game, man. The first faction I played as was the Dark Elves, which their leader
Nice.
is the Witch King, and he's essentially Sauron. Like he's
Hell
just
yeah.
this bad guy, like black armor, and you could just send him into like a group of men, and he's just like chopping down like 60 units at a time, and it's just if you just feel it. For me, I just get so immersed. I like to like role play too while I play these things, and it's
Yeah, you're like screaming like, slave.
Oh, 100%. Like I'll make like a poor diplomatic decision because I know it's the right bad guy move to do. Like
Nice.
I
Yeah.
this is gonna give me so many diplomatic penalties, but this guy's just pissing me off, and I am the strongest in the universe, at least in my eyes, and I'm gonna make this decision. And yeah, man, like it's my most played game on Steam. I think for Total War Warhammer 2, I have 1,060 hours.
Beautiful.
Got over the nice 1,000 mark before the third game came out. I was nice and proud about that. But so I feel like the big selling point to the Total War Warhammer series is so now they have the third game out, and each game has its own
which is on Game
campaign.
Pass. I want to put that out there.
Oh
so
yes,
people can check
good
this
shout out.
Yep.
Good shout out. So each game that comes out has its own campaign. I never played the first one. Don't know what that one was called, but like the second one was called the Eye of the Vortex. So you just you play the game like a grand strategy, but the goal is to control the vortex, and then that is like the campaign victory, for lack of a better term. And then Warhammer 3 now they have like the Realm of Chaos. That's the name of that campaign.
Nice.
But the biggest selling point for I think everyone honestly is it's not out yet for Warhammer 3, but for Warhammer 2 they have the Mortal Empires campaign, which combines the first game and the second game. So if you have them both, you have access to all the races from both games. It's just this monstrous map, and it's like the greatest grand strategy thing that you could ever experience.
So they're still adding that to the third one.
Exactly. Like
okay.
I think after the second one came out, it took a few months for it to be released, and then this one. It's going to be even bigger, right? Because it's combining all three games. All the new races that were introduced in this game are going to be combined with all the old ones. If you have DLCs from the first game, they transition to all the games. So it's really exciting for when that comes out. It hasn't come out yet, and there's been some like controversy with Warhammer 3. A lot of people are not really vibing with like the new campaign that's been out. It's not really forgiving, especially on the hard difficulties, because it's kind of like a race. So if you fall behind pretty early, there's not really like an easy way to come back. So you could invest like hours into a campaign and just lose because you're just not as fast as the other people, which I definitely understand people's like qualms with it.
So, would you fall behind because of these diplomatic choices that you're talking about, or because you just lost a battle and then you're kind of fucked for a while?
Yeah, so the point of the Realm of Chaos campaign is to gather these 4 demon prince souls from like the different there's 4 chaos realms. So you have to go to each realm, kill the big bad, collect his soul, and then you have one of the 4. But so yeah, so I think after like turn 30, like the realms will open, and then you can go in there and try and claim them. On the harder difficulty, sometimes you're just like trying to put out fires in your own provinces. Like you can't even imagine trying to like go out into the world. And so in that sense,
but then the computers are like able to go.
Oh, exactly. No, exactly. The computers have cheats that just make them like they don't take penalties for recruitment costs and stuff like that. Like it's the way that they balance the game, and it's just the way the game is. Like I don't really have issues with it, but I do understand if you're in hard difficulties, it makes it. I'd say it like rewards a different style of play that a lot of people don't like. Like it's a lot better to just have your one province and then just focus on your one province and then go into the realms. Whereas, when people play these games, they want to take over the world, but it's just, it doesn't really allow that, because you're just going to stretch yourself too thin. And then these chaos rifts, they're called, which are just portals that'll open up randomly in the world. And if you have been expanding your empire out, you haven't been like building them up for defenses and stuff like that. Next thing you know, like a portal opened up in a province that maybe you don't have an army there, and all of a sudden like these demons just demolish everything. And like I said, I understand people's issues with it. I haven't really been playing on the hard difficulties, so it's hasn't really been an issue for me.
I remember there's something in Civ too. It's like you start, if you are on the hardest difficulty, the enemies just start with like multiple cities each. And you're just on like one settler, like shit. How am I supposed to catch up? But then people can do it by figuring out how to cheese the system. So I'm curious. So can you not do just like a free mode where you can play with the game's mechanics and new races and all that stuff, and just play without having this kind of overarching goal and just go against each other? Or do you have to play through these campaigns, and therefore like in your 1,000 hours in number 2, like are you playing through that same campaign multiple times over, or do you get like different modes? You can do lobbies with people online. Like what's the deal there?
So there is just like the main campaign for the game right now, which is Realm of Chaos. Immortal Empires, when it comes out, which I think that's what they're calling it, because the last one was Mortal Empires, now it's going to be Immortal Empires, combining all 3 games. That is like the sandbox mode, where it's just, okay, there's different victory conditions. There's short victory, there's long victory, there's just complete domination where you just take over the entire world, which a lot of people, like completionists, they love to play that route, which you don't really have access to, which, like that mode is coming. So since it isn't
That's
out
weird
yet.
to me that wouldn't be in the game at launch. Like that.
And
seems,
a lot of people
bizarre.
have issues with it. I don't know. I'm mixed. Like I'm pretty busy podcasting and playing other things, so it's like, okay, I know it's coming.
But wouldn't they have that like in the second game? And can't you just theoretically copy paste that? Like obviously it's harder than that. But in some of those mechanics, like couldn't you just duplicate that sort of thing for the third game since it's the same format with just new content essentially?
Or is
it like a wholly new game? Do you feel
it is like they they add a lot of new like quality of life changes and stuff that I haven't even talked about, like just so many things that it's like, why did they not have this in the second game? Like it just makes it so much easier. And whether it's like saving your formations in game, so like every time I enter battle, like normally your units are just like in a line, and it's like, okay, well now I got to put my archers over here, and then I got to have my cavalry back here. And if I'm just doing that every single battle, like that just takes so long. Whereas now you can actually like save a set formation.
That's awesome. Nice.
Oh, exactly. It's just quality of life like changes, which is awesome. So when all three games are combined, and I can go play like my favorite race from game 2, you know, like they have these updated systems that it's just going to be so nice. And a lot, like it maybe they have to, I don't know. I'm not a game developer. I don't know what goes into like just making it work better on this game. But like the maps are also very different. Like the whole world map, when the Immortal Empires campaign comes out, it's all going to be connected. But like right now on the Realm of Chaos campaign, like the whole map is just the North region. So they kind of have to like scale it differently to fit the other two maps from the same game, which is technically the same map, but it's just like a section of it. So yeah, it's, and a lot of people are like, why wasn't this out on launch? You know, like a lot of people have those arguments, and I don't have the answer for that. It's unfortunate. It's not like it's never coming out. But for that reason, it had like a major drop in players. Like I think it was like, I don't know, a couple weeks after launch. A lot of controversy too on like the subreddits too, because there's like really well known like streamers that play the game that are just like, I'm not touching this until they fix all these things. And I don't know, I think people are getting a little too up in arms about it, because I don't know, it's tough, because for me, I'm not like a content creator. Like this isn't my main game to just put content out on it. So I can go do something else. But I've still been really loving the Realm of Chaos campaign. These like some of the streamers that are having like just really big complaints on it, they play on the hardest difficulty, where like you have to be min-maxing, you have to be cheesing the game, because it's just so fucking hard. Like you make one wrong error in turn like 2, and your campaign is just absolutely fucked. So, but for me, I'm playing on like normal. It's like, okay, there's so much leeway. Like I could spend like 20 turns just kind of going back and forth, and I'm not getting punished, because next thing you know, there's like 3 armies just surrounding on me. The diplomacy is so much harder on the harder difficulties. And yeah, so like I said, I understand people's qualms with it. Fortunately, I am still really loving it. I haven't actually played it since February. I haven't played it all of March. There's been, I think, 2 updates out.
Is that just because you're busy, or are you waiting for updates too at this point?
No, just busy. Honestly, I'm really into my one campaign right now. I realized that like I found like this ridiculous cheese strategy that was just working, and it's just been really fun. Like it's incredibly OP, but at the same time, it makes the campaign fun, because I can just kind of do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, coming up with solutions like that is a fun part of games.
Yeah, and you know, like getting on the more positive side of it though, they've incredibly, or my gosh, what a way to say that. They've made such an incredible change to the co-op system, because on the old game they had co-op. It was only 2-player co-op, and then because it's turn-based, okay, Dylan, you're first. You go first. I can't do anything until it's my turn, and then in the later turns, sometimes they take like 30 minutes just to get through. Like, you know, when your empire is stretching like coast to coast, you have to make so many decisions per turn. Now it's simultaneous, which is so nice, because you could be playing, I could be playing, and then we both end our turn, and then it'll go through the AI.
Does that mess with the combat? Because I remember that was a thing in Civ as well, but then the combat would be weird, because then it turns out that at the start of your turn, whoever like does this attack first, like that will go through, and it's like becomes this game of reflexes of like spamming all your units as quick as you can.
Would
Does
that
that
be
end up being
co-op
an
though?
issue?
Is that what you're talking about?
That's like, yeah, an online co-op. Like you would do
Okay.
simultaneous. Everyone can do their, city management stuff on the same
Yeah.
time. But then combat becomes weird because since
So,
everyone's at the same time, it's not turn-based anymore.
well, yeah, like let's say we're okay. We're doing diplomacy. We're upgrading our whatever, and then I just want to fight this guy. I'll initiate the combat. It'll kind of pause for you, and then if I go to do the combat, you're actually going to be taken into the battle sequence with me, and it's kind of nice because I can give you units to control.
Mm.
So especially on
Oh,
those
that's
large
cool.
scale battles, like if I it's a lot of micromanaging on like the larger scale battles. So maybe I give you all the cavalry units so that you can just cycle charge like the
Nice.
archers or something, because maybe there's just so much going on. It's pretty easy to just miss, like, oh my god, there's just an archer that's just laying arrows on like my artillery or something, that's just sitting there like a chicken. And then okay, go send the cavalry on there, so then you can kind of be in charge of that. So if you're in charge of 4 units, it's pretty easy to micro that
Mm-hmm.
compared to 20 units or something like
Yeah.
that. So that's been a thing in the game, but it's yeah, it's not that bad, honestly.
Cool.
You can always auto resolve too. So if like there's no chance I lose this mission, I'll just auto resolve. I'll just
Yeah.
auto resolve it. We'll just keep going. And but yeah, it just saves so much time. Like I think um on the last game, like I only got to like turn 30 with a buddy on one of our co-op campaigns, and that was like a 5 hour like session. Whereas now, like me and my other buddy that we started a co-op campaign, like we were on like turn like 80, and it had been like half that time. Like we were just flying and having so much
Nice.
fun. And yeah, just the different tactics you can now like build. I forget what they're called, but it's kind of like a camp in your allies base, so I can actually recruit like their units, which is
Oh, like kind of like an
that
embassy, sort of.
yeah, exactly. Like
Nice.
that's a whole new system. So they just added a lot of really cool co-op stuff, and they have like I think it's three separate co-op campaigns, which are completely
Nice.
different from the
Yeah.
the single player experience, which is on the old one, you just had the single player experience, so you could play the Eye of the Vortex campaign, which is just the Warhammer 2 races, or the Mortal Empires, which is, both games. As
Mm-hmm.
long as both you have access to it, you can do that. And so yeah, like they've definitely brought in a lot of cool things. It looks so good too, like the campaign map. They just made it look so beautiful. But and like the popularity is just gonna spike once the Mortal Empires comes out, and there's some performance issues, but I feel like every time Total War releases a game, there's performance issues that people complain about. Maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
not running at 60 frames like in the combat. Um, I don't know. I haven't really noticed that too
Yeah.
much of that, but like I said, I haven't played in over a month, and I'm excited to jump back in.
Yeah.
I
I was it was on Game Pass, so I was like, well, I want to check this out. And I went to download it, and it was like 120 gigs, and I
oh
didn't
yeah.
have that available on my laptop. So I was like, okay, well, I guess not today, but I do want to go check it out. So I was gonna ask like what you recommend for a new player. Is the in-game tutorials good? Was there like a good YouTube series? I'm not gonna go read The Art of War. So what is like the other like what would be the best way to just
Yeah.
kind of jump in there? If because I don't know if I'll be spending 1,000 hours, but if I just want to jam around for 10, 15 hours, like what would be a good way to just get into
Yeah.
it?
Um, I definitely think the in-game tutorials, they do a good job at introducing the systems, but your first campaign will probably be a lot of reading. And I'm not saying like reading Art of War, but just like reading like, okay, what does this menu do? Like
Sure.
the tutorial will run you through all those base things, but um yeah, like I think especially since you have experience playing Civ and stuff, like you'll grasp the
Mm-hmm.
diplomat, like the campaign map side very quickly. The hardest part for me was to just get behind the battles and just being confident with like, okay, I'm overwhelmed, like outnumbered here. I feel like I can hold my own, and like once those moments start happening, it's like a whole new gaming experience, because you feel like you're in Helm's Deep, just defending like this onslaught of orcs. And when you make it out, and it gives you like the heroic victory, because like after battle it'll tell you like a decisive victory, a pyrrhic victory. That's where you basically lost. You like barely won. There's like one
Right.
unit with no legs that survived, so technically you won, but you took a beating. And then the heroic victory is like, there's no way you can beat this, and then you actually beat it. It's like, wow, you are
Nice.
Sun Tzu, Art of War. Like you are.
You read book. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and like honestly, for me, that took like hundreds of hours in, but that was just because I was kind of neglecting the battles. I would always auto resolve, and then if I just couldn't do like if it was a defeat, I would just okay retreat, not do the battles. But that's like personal play style. Some people get really into the battles. I have a buddy that hates the campaigns. He plays on like easy campaigns, but his battle difficulty is like very hard because he just loves that side of it. There's online battles too. So like if you're new to the game, like we could just jump in and do some online battles, and I could just teach you some basic
That'd
formations.
We should do
different
a stream. We should boot up a Sunday stream and do this.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I don't have like a powerful rig to like run the game properly. I've done some test streams because I've really wanted to stream it just because I'm so passionate about the game. I think it'd be really fun to just show people why this game is so awesome. But it's way too frame droppy when I try to stream it, and I already have to play on like kind of low graphics because I just play on the ultra unit scale because that's the way you got to do, honestly, because there's like you could do low unit scale. You know, if you don't have a powerful computer, you might get really bad issues if you're on those ultra unit scales because there's just so many units that your computer's just chugging along trying to do. Sure. But there's actually like strategical benefits of having 120 units in a unit compared to 60, right? Because you just have a lot more people that can hold a line. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling right now. Obviously, you can just tell my passion for it.
I wanted to hear you ramble about this game because, it's a very niche community. But I feel like the 4X like big strategy, grand strategy game, like there is a lot of fans out there for these games, and I love Civ personally, so I'm always down to hear more about some of the adjacent games in the series. And it's on Game Pass, so I want to check it out when I find the hard drive space. I mean, I have an external hard drive, so I should just download it on there, and then I'll be good to go.
Yeah, my dream, near future, upgrade my rig, and then I can host a nice like ultra graphics stream because it looks so good too. Because like on the campaign map, there's some factions that are like vampires. So if they own this area of the map, there's like vampiric corruption. So the land's just like dead. Ooh. All the trees are like dead, And then let's say I'm playing as the Empire, like the Holy Church of Sigmar is going in there to like take back the land. And then as turns progress, maybe I have like a bunch of churches in that area that just helps bring back the land. You just see it like come back to life over turns. Cool. It's oh man, it's hard to describe, like sell like the joy I get from this game. So it's thank you for giving me the time to just talk about it. But we'll definitely jump into some of those co-op campaigns because they're very, thematic. Like some of them they'll give you a goal. Maybe you're playing as Kislev, which is like they're basically Russia. Bad standing right now.
Russia's not doing great in the news.
The old Tsar of Russia days, a long time ago. Like they're like the in between from like the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the factions of men in the south. They're like the living wall between the humans and the forces of demons that are in the north. So they're like their whole life is just to like defend the lands, and they're really, really cool. They're basically like the main race in the new game. Like one of the co-op campaigns is you and I would be as them, just like defending the onslaught of the demons. And then there's another one which I think the different co-op campaigns allow for a different amount of people. So maybe there's one that's just 3-player, there's one that's just 2-player, there's one that's like I think it's like over 8 players, and that's not even strictly co-op. So maybe 3 buddies are the good guys, and then the other, 4 are the demons. And that, like, I think that would just be a really fun dynamic. I haven't experienced that yet, but it's just so cool that they added that stuff because the co-op was really lacking in the last game. Still did it just because me and my buddy loved the game, but it's really nice that they added that stuff. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, we're going to go from an incredibly complex and convoluted game to maybe one of the simplest kinds of games there is, a nice new Kirby game. So, let's take our last ad break. We'll come back and talk about this game. Okay. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is the latest game from Nintendo, developed by HAL Laboratory, which, is the studio that made the greatest game of all time, Super Smash Bros. Melee for the Nintendo GameCube. So anytime I see that HAL Laboratory logo, I just get dopamine just coursing through my body as I think of my favorite game. So Yeah, this is the newest game in the series. Really quite a departure. They've had 3D games before, but not, as far as I know, like not like a mainline game. They've kind of had the Air Ride, the kind of more party, multiplayer focused games, but nothing like this. This is kind of more of a Mario 3D Land style 3D game where you're going through these levels, and it is linear, but it still is a lot of hidden areas and just 3D combat, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, this is quite a departure for Kirby. Before we talk about the game, I just want to know quickly what your history is with Kirby. I think is just much a household name kind of character, being in Smash for all these many years, and is maybe like the meme favorite, like using flying up to the top, using the down B is just classic. So everyone's a fan of Kirby, but I feel like not a lot of people have played through the game. Seems to be more maybe niche at times. So what's your history with Kirby series?
Yeah, I mean, very limited. Apart from Smash, always just very iconic character. Like it's very identifiable, even though like thinking about it, it's like I don't think I have played like a solo Kirby. I know I played like Kirby Racing or something on GameCube. Can't remember what that one was called.
I think that might have been Air Ride. I don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe. I could probably dig it out on my GameCube list another day. But yeah, no, known him from Smash. Shay, my significant other, she loves Kirby. That is her. She only plays Kirby in Smash. It's aggravating, just getting dummied by Kirby constantly. And like because it's the only thing she played, like she just knows all the moves, and it's just it's tough to beat sometimes. But no, very cute character. And yeah, I will
say in Melee, Kirby is. I mean, Bowser's definitely the worst, but Kirby is like unanimously the second worst character.
Oh, okay.
So if you bring her to Melee, you might have an advantage, as Kirby is not good.
Kirby Rex in Ultimate, I must say,
he's pretty good. He's pretty good there.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So this game, when it was announced, just from that gameplay trailer, I was with you going over the trailer. Maybe I don't even remember what we were. Do you remember what that was at? Like
the Nintendo Direct.
Right. Yeah, my first Nintendo Direct I was a part of.
Yes.
And
I think they had announced it before that, but that was another good showing for it.
Right. Yeah, and then I remember just seeing the gameplay, knowing that it's Kirby and what was shown, and the fact I had couch co-op. I'm like, man, this is a day one buy. Like, Shay's not a big gamer, but like when she gets into a game like Animal Crossing, she has hundreds of hours into that. The one before that was Stardew Valley. Like, she just has hundreds of hours. Like, she just gets so wrapped into like a specific game that she finds. And when I saw this, I'm like, man, this is a game for her. And the fact that I had couch co-op, I knew it was going to be a great sell. Looked really cute. We played through, I think it was Super Mario. I forget what it's called. It was like Super Mario Land or something, where it was originally on the Wii, I think, and then we got it on the Switch now. I wasn't sure if it was like a remake or a remaster or something.
3D Land with Bowser's Fury, is that what you're talking about?
It's like maybe. Oh gosh,
because that came out last year. If that's what you're talking about.
Okay, no, I think it's older than that because it's kind of set like it's a platformer, obviously, but then it's centered around the 2-player aspect, and then if you like fall off the map, you can just like bubble, and then you like go to the other character.
Mode.
Yeah. So we played, I think, just through all that one. We got all the stars and everything, all the coins in each level. Just really like our style of game, and that's what was shown in this. So this was really cool, 3D style. I haven't even played as Kirby because I just let her go as Kirby. So I've been playing as the Bandana Weedledee, or I think that's what they're called.
Bandana D. Yeah.
Yeah. Very.
The Waddle Dees and Bandana D.
Right. Yes, the Bandana D. Great name.
Of course. Yeah. Amazing nomenclature.
Yeah, and it was perfect timing because she works in healthcare. She's a nurse, so she rarely gets like weekends off, and this was like the first weekend she had off in like a month. So we did a lot of stuff this weekend. Kirby was a lot of it, and
cool.
Yeah, excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I've really not played much of the series either. I've probably spent more time playing as Kirby in Smash over the years than I have playing Kirby games, but on the DS, I had Kirby Squeak Squad, which is always just such a silly name, which, I mean, it's very fitting. These games are very silly, but I loved that game. Like, I think, it's the class thing where you get like 3 save slots. I think I got 100% on all 3 of those save slots over the years just because I as a kid.
Oh,
It was
3. That's
yeah,
like
it was a
overachieving,
game
man.
that I just kept coming back to every couple of years. I'd play through it again. It was great. It's obviously 2D, but I loved it. I loved the different forms, the combinations of forms, the hidden stuff throughout the levels that encourage you to, bring a different power up into a level that you wouldn't normally have, and then being able to access this whole new area. And it was fantastic. I actually want to go back and play more of those 2D ones because apparently that's not even the best one of the 2D ones back in the day on the Game Boy era. So I should go back and play some more of those. But I loved Squeak Squad, and it's been a while since I've played it, to be fair. But I mean, it's a simple 2D platformer with kind of all the Kirbiness in there. So I don't know how you can go wrong. And yeah, so it's been a while since I've played one of these games. And yeah, for me, it was. I don't think it was the first trailer that sold me on the game, but as I watched more of it and saw like some of the town building part of it, or just more of the abilities and stuff like that, some of the upgrades you could do, it just looked like a lot of fun. And then I think what sold it for me was the co-op as well, because me and Muds are always looking for fresh new co-op games to play, and Nintendo is definitely, they're not great at online multiplayer, but they are great at couch co-op.
Yeah.
And this game, yeah, definitely was in that road. Now it's funny, we played the opposite. I played Kirby the whole time. She played Bandana D. So we have both sides of the coin.
Nice.
And yeah, we got through the first 4 worlds. I don't know what you want to call them, but how
regions.
Yeah,
I guess.
So the first island, I guess, like the first 4 worlds.
Right.
Have you made it? What
I'm not
world
quite there yet.
Okay.
We're on the 3rd area of the first.
The amusement park area.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Cool. So yeah, we finished the area just after that and haven't started past that. So I don't know how long that, like maybe played 5 or 6 hours, maybe less than that. I don't know. And then have gone back and done some of the challenge levels as well, but mostly have played the game in co-op. I've played like maybe 15, 20 minutes solo, and the rest has been co-op. So that's fun. I mean, the game, I think it takes like 5 minutes. I was concerned. I'm like, oh man, when does co-op unlock? But
I know, that's what we were thinking.
It is like after this little tutorial area is when you can jump in there. So that's good.
Yeah, I love, I mean, couch co-op, I feel like it's a thing. I don't want to say it's dying out, but it's just not as common as like
it ebbs
a lot.
And flows for sure, and I think we're on a bit of an upswing right now. I feel like there's a good amount out there.
Fortunately, yes. It's especially if it's like on the Switch. Like I feel like these types of games are really easy to get Shay in on. So if they're couch co-op, it's awesome. You know, I love playing games with her, and it's lots of fun. I looked it up. It's Super Mario Bros. Deluxe. That was that was the one that we had played. But
what an awful title for Deluxe. Like
absolutely.
They did it too with Mario Kart. I don't like it when they call their new 3DS. Like
I think it's because
Nintendo goes a little in the weird bad direction when it comes to naming their things. But Kirby and the Forgotten Land, solid name.
Great name.
Not going to complain
Absolutely.
with that.
Not quite Squid Squad. Squid Squad. What was it?
Squeak Squad. Squeak Squad. Yeah.
Not quite that level, but it's up there. But yeah, no, I love the fact that it's co-op like right from the get-go. It's not like, hey, reach this point. Definitely had the same thoughts from like, oh man, I see we pause. I see that you can hit play co-op. It's just grayed out right now. When can we do this? But very quick tutorial, and it jumps right into it, and it's fun because it's not just like you're this second character of the, like they actually implement it in like the story, like no, this is the bandana, the bandanity. That's like
you feel like
relevant.
You're not supposed to say that word. You just sound like you don't like saying that, and I think you gotta accept it. Bandana.
I'm trying to. You know? This is all new to me, a whole new experience.
You gotta take yourself back to childhood. I think when it comes to Kirby, just the way they name things, it's very silly. Goofy. This game like opens with like a musical, which just shocked me, and I was very surprised. And yeah, it's very goofy and weird. It does not take itself seriously.
Absolutely, I think it's like right at the end of the tutorial, Kirby's in the car, or Kirby is the car, drives it to a point, and then like the music starts playing. It just starts like grooving a little bit, doing like these side to side. It just drives off, and Shay and I just like chuckled out loud, like especially because we haven't really played a Kirby game, like obviously experienced Kirby and Smash, but like to jump into the world of Kirby, oh man, there's a whole nother level. And I don't know why I didn't expect it to go this route. I should have, just knowing what Kirby entails. But
I think
it was great.
The marketing, the Forgotten Land and stuff, it makes it seem like this is like a post-apocalyptic game in a way, right? Like you're in this world that has people are gone and it's kind of overgrown. So I wondered if it was going to take a more serious tone, but it's like, nope, we're not going to do that. We're going to maybe a more serious setting at times that it's
Yeah.
a bit creepy or serious, but no, it's still the same vibe. So we haven't really talked about it yet, but like, what do you think? Are you a fan of the gameplay? Are you enjoying it so far?
Absolutely, man. We're having lots of fun with the game. I'm really liking just like the places that it's taking us to. Like that first area with like the overgrown just world, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. It I love it. It reminds me very very closely to I think it's like the first level in Nier Automata
Mm.
when you go to like the city that's just like
Yep.
again kind of abandoned, overgrown, and it's just there's so much history here, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not like we're diving into like what happened here. Like this is just happens to be the setting of this particular level, and
Mm-hmm.
I loved it because I was like really getting lost in like the scenery, which is funny because it's just there's so much going on. Like it's pretty fast paced like gameplay, but there's been many moments where I would just kind of stop and just like I said enjoy the scenery and yeah, it was really well done. I really like the levels. I feel like at the very beginning I was a little worried playing as Bandanity because like there was moments where I'm like, okay, well, Shay's just, she's getting to like suck up all these other powers, and then
Mm-hmm.
she's Link here now. She's like Fireboy, and I'm just this dude with a stick, and like the combat seemed pretty limited from my sense. But then I realized that like there's kind of different move sets you can do, like as Bandanity. There's one where you can like fly in the air like a helicopter and
That
just like
move is
shoot the
so
spears
cool.
down,
Yeah.
and then you can follow with like a butt drop. You can throw your spear if you charge it. You can throw like 3 spears. So that was kind of fun. I think I still wanted more from the second player perspective. Like I said with the powers, I'm like, oh, that looks awesome. Why can't I pick up this power right now? And
Mm-hmm.
like it's weird because I like I can make an argument for both sides of being like, okay, well I like that I'm not just a ghost Kirby. Like, okay, we're not gonna work in story reasons why the second Kirby's here. It's just purely for the second player. But then there's times when I'm like, I kind of want to be the guy that
Yeah.
just gets to turn into a
Well, there are
car or something.
certainly sections in these levels that are you can't do anything as Bandani. Like Kirby has to
No,
use some
yeah,
mouthful mode thing and gets to control the game completely. And even in some of those sequences, like Bandandi will hop up on top, and that's why I love when he's on the back of the car or the stairs
just
and he's
whipping your
just hucking
spears. Yeah,
spears. Like it's great, but still, yeah, I wonder if more levels down the road. If it's gonna get a bit tiresome, and I mean, I don't know, because when I'm playing with Muds, I'm like, you want to switch? Are you sure you don't want to play as Kirby? Like, I'm not trying to hog the Kirby here. I know
yeah.
he gets more moves and stuff, and she's like, no, I like playing as Bandanity. I'm cool to stick with it. So, at least so far, it seems like the moveset is fun enough, and you do have a good amount of movement. You have your classic dodge roll. You kind of have
Mm-hmm.
a block, and you have a slide tackle kinds of things. So you have some different attacks that it's not just a simple one button thing. So at least it keeps it a little fresh in that way. And you at least have the movement that Kirby does. You can jump and pretty
Yeah.
much fly, hover infinitively, or mostly infinitively. So you at least get to move around in that way. But yeah, the mouthful mode is when I feel like Bandanity gets a little bit sidelined, unfortunately.
I guess I misspoke earlier. I have played as Kirby, but just in the challenges mode. So
Sure.
which yeah, those are actually really fun. I found at least the first few ones that we were doing. I mean, it was fun for me because I finally got to play Kirby, but also just like the challenge aspect of it. Some of them were like pretty tricky too for like the time frame. Like, there's no fucking way I'm supposed to
Some of
do
them
this
are
in this
really
amount of
hard,
time.
man.
Yeah,
Really
so
hard.
especially with, I'm assuming you're playing on wild mode,
Yeah.
because there's like
Oh,
easy mode
definitely.
and then wild
There's
mode
a
and
cool breeze mode and then
oh, is
wild
there?
mode, which I love that
Or
those are the
okay, that's the
names.
easy one.
That's the easy one, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great names.
Mm-hmm.
So I was expecting maybe a little bit more in like the combat because we were just kind of flying through, not really being in any terror of losing the map. But I'm like, hey, it's also like a
Mm-hmm.
kid's game. I'm not playing Elden Ring here. But so there'd be moments where it's like, okay, it's a little easy, and then I jump into those challenge modes, and I'm like, holy fuck, okay, this is actually challenging,
Mm-hmm.
and I like it because it, if you find it a little too easy, you can just go do some challenges, get like a different taste, different level design, I guess, for
Yeah.
some of those. Some of them are really unique. I don't know if you've you said you played at least a few of the challenges.
I've probably checked out maybe 10, 12 of the challenge modes, and like some of those I tried a few times and still couldn't get it within the timer. So but yeah, I've done a fair amount of them because I did want to get some of those upgrades, and I think you have to play the challenge mode to get the currency, whatever it is, to upgrade those abilities. So after every session where we complete a level, I usually go back and do some of the challenges so that I can upgrade whatever blueprints we found, so that next session we can move ahead with those new abilities.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we're having fun going through those. I
wanted to just quickly finish up a couple notes on the co-op part of it before we move on. One thing I like is that some of the puzzles are kind of like you maybe hit a switch and then you have a certain amount of time to get to this other place. And I like that with co-op you can almost trivialize some of those, like Bandana can just hang out by the thing that's going to open up. And I like that you feel like you can almost cheese some of these levels by playing co-op. Like it feels like you are being given an advantage. And then obviously I'm really curious to go back and do some of the boss fights single player, because a couple of them have actually been, well, mainly one of them was like really difficult, and I'd be just curious to see what those are like in single player, because obviously you have Bandana up there just smacking them with a spear all day, and then me in the background throwing cutter or whatever it is. It makes some of them like a little too easy, so I'm curious to see the balance on some of the boss fights when I'm kind of all on my own.
Yeah, no, I had same thought as well, because as I was mentioning, I was just spamming like that helicopter one, like on like one of the bosses. I was just like right above him, just spamming, and then Shay was just doing her work as Kirby does, and then I would just like spam that move, and his health bar was just like a constant just depletion. And then I'm like, man, like they really, like it's such an advantage if you are co-op. Haven't tried single player. Maybe it's balanced, like. One random poll I'll say is like Diablo. If there's like if there's more people in the world, I think there's more enemies, something like that.
I could see them inflating the health or deflating the health. So hopefully, and then the camera as well. I don't know. I think this camera's kind of old school, and it really makes the second player feel like you are playing as player 2.
Yes,
and 100%. Last year we played through the Harry Potter Lego games, and I mean just in general the Lego games, and the way they split the screen dynamically based on where you are in the level. I really would have liked them to do something like that. I mean, I have only played as Kirby, so I really have not had an issue with the camera on myself, but I know Muds has been annoyed a couple times where she just kind of gets, she's going somewhere, or she has to wait for me to come finish doing my thing to go over there so she can do something then. And it sucks, and I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of solutions for that now, and they didn't do any of them. I wouldn't say it's an issue a lot of the time. Most of the time the level is small enough that the section you're on is linear, that you're not going to be getting too far away from each other, but still I don't see why it wouldn't hurt to add a little more functionality there for the second player.
100%. Yeah. There's many times I felt like the little brother that just has, his controller unplugged or something. Like he's just he's just there for the ride. And because like I would be kind of exploring this one area, and then Shay, it's not even like she's going off in a direction. She maybe just like walks a little close to like the side edge, and then it just teleports me to her. And it's just like, this feels dated, honestly, especially if they put in like this much effort to make the co-op like a thing with Bandanity. I feel like that was a bit of a mishap, because I mean you brought up the Lego example, and that's not a new game like by any means.
No, they've been doing that since I can't remember in the first Lego Star Wars. Like I don't think it was necessarily dynamic. I think it might have just been a set thing.
Yeah,
I can't even remember. I wonder when they added that though, where the screen splits when you're so far away. But it's great in new Lego games. So.
Absolutely.
And then I also wanted to shout out that if someone in co-op picks up a food item, you obviously get healed. And then if you go over to your teammate, they do a little high five, and then you share that HP you got with the person. Yeah. But a lot of the times it just looks like they're kissing. And I just thought it was hilarious. It just makes me laugh every time, where we've just been saying, like, oh, come give me a kiss. Like after you pick up that energy drink, you can just kind of load up on HP. So I don't know. They're just, because they're obviously they're light. Their arms are so stubby that they have to be really close for a high five. But I like that it's. I mean, we were genuinely confused for a long time. First of all, when it activated, because we didn't realize it was after you pick up food, and we thought it was a kiss for a while. Like, what a weird decision to make these characters kiss. But it's great.
I think when it first happened for us, we were like, maybe in like behind the map settings, so it was just like shadows or something, or maybe even in combat, because it just like we just stop. It's like, what the fuck happened? And then like health just goes up. I'm like, I have no idea what happened there. And then like I wasn't even sure how it was activating for a while because we'd just be kind of walking by each other. The next thing you know, you just like high five, health goes up. Yeah, it's a funny little detail in there.
Where should we go next? I guess just one overall thing I want to mention is that I think just the movement feels great. The game is just moving around, jumping, attacks. Everything feels just very fast and reactive. So just in general, yeah. I mean, I would expect that from HAL Laboratory. I don't know how much of the team from who made Melee is still making this game, but even back, they made Squeak Squad as well, I think, and just solid in terms of the basics. So I had to commend them on that.
Nice.
Let's talk a little bit more about these levels, because it very much does follow that Mario structure of like those 3D games where, yeah, each level has maybe 3 hidden coins you can pick up. Maybe if you interact with these flowers in this level, you get some other bonus. And this game, I feel like very much follows that structure. I will say it is more linear than I thought it would be based off the trailers. I thought the levels would be a little bit more expansive, maybe more Mario Odyssey, Mario 64 style. But instead, they are very much like 3D Land or the Mario whatever Deluxe that you were playing is.
Yeah.
Where it is a pretty small, you're going in one direction, and yeah, maybe there's a couple offshoot rooms, but it is pretty straight ahead in the way you're going.
Yeah, 100%. I think when we finished that first mission and we didn't get all of the collectibles, and Shay is one where it's like we can't go forward until we get all of them. So she's a collectionist, and
we've done that a couple times, but usually we're pretty thorough, I'd say. But if we miss one, we're genuinely sad. It's like, oh, that poor Waddle Dee is still, hidden under some ice somewhere. I feel bad for him.
I like that it's not just clear as day. Like sometimes there's like hidden things that you have to do.
Yeah, it's pretty good the way they hide some of those posters and other things.
Yeah, 100%. And it just adds that element that I know Shay loves. So again, it's awesome because I mean, I'm a gamer. I feel like I can pick up any game and just like really get into it. But her not being a gamer, she's pretty selective of the ones that she gets in. So when the more I'm just coming across these systems, it's just like, this is awesome. I love that we just have a game that we can both get really hyped on and just really get into. And I like all the collectibles that you can get. That's very much a Super Mario Bros. Thing. As I was mentioning, like we went through, got all the coins on all the levels. There were some that we were just spamming, like. I'm speaking Mario right now, but like there's ones that we just spent like probably 30 minutes trying to like just get all the coins because you have to
just
like
attacking random walls and
maybe or maybe it's like a speed one where it's just like the levels like moving the whole time, so you only really get one shot at it. So that's something that.
Let's get rid of auto scrollers. I'm not a fan of the auto scrollers. We don't have any of those in this game.
Anxiety ridden. If you know a youngin and you're trying to get all the collectibles in the mission. But with Kirby, I really like that they have them in there.
One thing I gotta critique for the challenges is there's really not a quick restart. Like if you're in a level, you can pause and hit quick restart. But if you failed your objective, you're off by a couple seconds, it kicks you back out to the world, then you have to load the level up again and start again. And it's not really clear. It's like if your objective is to finish the level in, let's say, 45 seconds and the timer starts at 2 minutes, like it's not telling you you're at 44 seconds, so you're close. It's like counting down from 2 minutes. So it's not always clear, especially the first time you are doing a level, if you're close to that timer or not. And so to have this kind of annoying thing where you have to take an extra 20-30 seconds to load back in, just, I don't know, add a quick restart in there, please. Like I don't understand how they didn't add that. Honestly, that's
2022. Come on,
it's
Nintendo.
One of those outdated things.
100%. No, they're like the first challenge I think I did. I was like, oh yeah, I fucking killed that one, and I didn't realize I like butchered it until afterwards. And like you said, I couldn't just quick restart there. I had to go through the whole process of getting back into it.
In terms of these different zones, like you said, you're on the amusement park level. The one after it, I don't know if it's a spoiler. You probably can see it. It's kind of like a wintry themed level.
Yeah.
So other than the amusement park, like, grassland, water world, winter. So kind of more generic zones, but I'm really liking all of them. I like the visuals. I like these kind of abandoned places you're going through. It's weird and it's creepy, unsettling in a way, whether you're going to like an abandoned mall or subway station, whatever it is. I'm just generally liking these levels. It's adds a weird kind of dystopian twinge to this what is otherwise like cute, colorful, playful game.
Yeah, it's a really good mix of the two. Especially like I remember just jumping into like that first boss battle on the, I think it's at the mall, the one with the big gorilla, because it's like you're in
Gormondo. Yeah. That
great
He's
name.
awesome.
Oh, I loved it. And just like his character design too. It's like, of course, it's just like a big gorilla that I've seen so many times in video games before.
Huge arms, tiniest legs of all time.
And I love too, like just his like his facial reactions. If I hit him or something, like his eyes would just like pop out, like he's DK in Smash or something like that. And again, like there's those little collectibles, I guess you'd call them, or like mini challenges in the mission, just for even that level. Like one that we had missed the first time was to like dive through his legs, and it's fun because like you could get that randomly, but to like add that as an extra challenge while you're already doing this battle, which again I'm sure would be more difficult on single player mode. But yeah, no, it's fun going through those missions because you're in the Kirby world. It's very fantastical. I'm picking up food that just is, very cartoony burgers. There's these like mochi donuts. Like all the food, Shay and I are just getting like so hyped every time we see it. I don't know why. It's very very cute and fun. But then it has this like really creepy vibe when you enter that mall for the first time, and there's some badness in the air, and what follows is a fun boss battle with a absolutely great name of a character.
Yeah. So we haven't talked about this. Is kind of the major hook of any Kirby game is the copy abilities. So you change your core moveset. Obviously, you've experienced this in Smash, but as you're playing your first Kirby game, what do you think of the copy abilities?
Yeah, they're really cool. Honestly, I really like the ones that you just have as like an ability. I like the ones when you are, I don't know, jumping on a vending machine or those cones. I feel like it's really what makes Kirby, just that element, and I think they nailed it. It's not like I'm just putting on a hat and then I have. I don't know, like Mario, you can make the case that like it's kind of like that with whether you're getting the Tanuki or the flowers, so you have like flame attacks and stuff like that. Honestly, I feel like Kirby's feels like very much different.
It changes
than that.
The game a lot more than
Mario
ability. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like there's the one like the snow ability. Like Kirby's like skating around the levels.
I love that,
Shay loves that one just for the movements alone. And yeah, no, I think they're really cute and fun, and I like that you can kind of commit to a play style. Like Shay's been sticking with that frost ability for a good amount of time, honestly, and like she hasn't really used the cutter one too much, and it doesn't really force you to, other than if you come across it for the first time, like in the level, like you have to use this to access this or whatever it might be.
Yeah, or I mean, to get through a level, you could probably not use any abilities. You'd need some of the mouthful modes, but you could skip all the abilities. But yeah, if you want to get all of the hidden Waddle Dees, then you'll have to interact with some of the systems, and they usually like will dole it out. If you're gonna need one, they'll give it to you at some point. But they might just give it to you in one enemy, and you wouldn't think to pick them up instead of get rid of what you have to pick them up. So there definitely is some replayability there, and it's solid. To me there isn't, from the previous Kirby game I played, there isn't really anything new. I guess the new one for me is the needle mode, which is fun, where you just turn into a spike ball and like a sea urchin and just rock in enemies. You can pick them up and kind of fling them like a slingshot, which is really fun. And when you upgrade that ability, you just turn into like Katamari Damacy, where you can just all these strange objects are popping out of you, and you just roll around. You can roll around for a long time. If you go down a hill, you can just like keep rolling forever.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then the Ranger ability, which I've been just joking, is just Call of Duty mode. Like I just pick up my guns and I just start firing, and it's a lot of fun. I really like that one. You can aim around as well. You can get kind of a rapid fire mode for it. So those two have been a lot of fun to use as new abilities.
I really like that you can like upgrade them too, and it's not just like, okay, this does more. Like it actually changes the actual, like the first one that we had upgraded was the fire one, and then you become like a lava head, and it's just like so much more fierce, and like it changes the look and everything, and I really love that aspect. They must have showed it off in the trailer.
Feel substantial.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, because it's not just like, okay, +1 damage here. Like they actually are changing the whole ability there, and it's really really cool. I as I was saying, like they probably showed it off in the gameplay trailer, but I completely forgot about that.
They talked about upgrades. I don't know how many they showed, but they talked that you could go to this guy and upgrade your stuff. So really
cool.
And it's not even just like the sword one. I thought was cool because you kind of start out with very fast, quick slashes that don't deal much damage. But when you upgrade it, you get a huge fucking Elden Ring sword, and your attacks are slow, but you just deal a shit ton of damage. So I like that it kind of pros and cons, and you can go back to the shop and you can pick the first form still if you want to use that one.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you find it in a level, I think you're kind of forced to use whatever you're upgraded for, which is almost always better. But I like that you can go back and use the old ones if you want to. I do maybe got to criticize the game here a bit because I will say that when we got through the winter level, I don't think through that whole world that we saw a new ability. We hadn't seen a new one that whole time. And I was thinking back to Kirby on the DS, and I was thinking, man, I feel like there was a lot more upgrades in that game than I've seen in this. And it's been a while since we've seen a new one. So maybe we're on a new island now. Maybe there's a whole bunch of new ones they're going to throw at us, and I hope so. But I went through and I just brought a little list up just for some proof here. But here are some of those from the DS that I haven't seen yet. There was a fighter mode, metal, electric, UFO, ninja, a parasol, ghost, cupid, throw, beam, laser, high jump. Some of these are pretty weird, but these are all just like core abilities that I just feel like there's not that many in this game, and I really hope there's more. I was hoping that the inclusion of mouthful mode would make it so that there's a ton of variety because you have these new mouthful modes on top of all these great abilities plus some new abilities. But it seems like so far, I got to say at this point, that they cut back on the regular abilities so that they could add mouthful mode abilities. And I don't know if that was the best decision. We can talk about mouthful mode in a bit, but I really hope I'm wrong, and I hope that when you go to these new areas that a bunch of new abilities open up. But right now I'm feeling like maybe there's a lack. And yes, they do go hard with these upgrades. They feel like great upgrades. But I just, I miss UFO mode. I miss ghost mode. Some of these really weird ones. I feel like there's not a ton of very weird ones when it comes to the base abilities that you got so far. So hoping that changes, but for right now, I gotta at least bring that up.
No, 100%. Yeah, I wasn't sure if we just hadn't come across them yet, just because we weren't too far in. But it's one of those things, like, just more is better in that regard of just, even if I never use, let's just say I can't imagine I wouldn't use the UFO mode. That sounds awesome. But let's just say it's in there and I don't ever use it. It's just great to have it in there for the potential. Maybe if I'm on like my second playthrough, I haven't used any of these. It's kind of like my current Deathloop playthrough. Like there's so many abilities that I went through the game of only using the blink ability, and then now I'm using the Carnesis ability, and then like just it brings fresh life to the game that I've already played. And if they have a bunch of different like upgrades that you can get on Kirby, or not even upgrades, just the transformation. What are they even called?
Copy abilities.
The copy abilities, right?
Well, when you have less to them, it makes it feel like the puzzles become a bit easier because it's just not as much for you to think, I wonder what ability I need for this. It's like, well, there's only a few abilities. Like, obviously, I need the ice to do this thing, or obviously, I need this to do that. And if you have more, maybe there's multiple ways you could do things in different ways. So yeah, I can't fully criticize that until I've played the whole game, obviously. But the other thing, too, that I haven't seen, but I think is in the trailers, is mixing abilities. So, for example, you could make like a fire tornado mode, or you could have an electric sword in the DS one. And truthfully, there wasn't a ton of the combinations, but when there was one, when you would find a new combination, it was really cool. So I hope we see some of that. And like I said, I think I saw it in the trailers. So that as well adds a lot of variety to it, where it is, like you could have fire mode, but if you have fire tornado, maybe you can also do this, get this secret room to get this Waddle Dee. So hoping that opens up here soon, and maybe they're saving some of that for the next islands, so the game kind of has this solid progression to it. I don't know.
That's something else where it's, again, just getting back to like the co-op element and how one of them is just bandanity. See, I'm getting smoother with it. Like I think, pros and cons of both sides, but I think that's where I kind of wish I could just be like a second Kirby if I'm, doing this ability and then Shay has this one, and then they kind of combine for like a cool combined effect. I think that could be a really cool element that maybe they missed out on. I think that could have added a lot to the game. But yeah, it's minor little throw in I'll add.
So yeah, in room of that, to make some room for that, they added mouthful mode, which is completely new to Kirby and is something that has already been, just talked about on the internet to death because it's so absurd watching Kirby consume an entire vehicle and drive around. But I gotta say, I really like mouthful mode as an inclusion. Like the car one is super fun, or the water balloon one's really cool, or the glider letting you fly around. But you essentially just consume an object and then you get some new set of abilities. And I really like these for the most part. I mean, there's ones that's like you can eat a locker, but all it ever does is open up a door. Like there's not like a lot of depth to it. But then being a vending machine is a lot of fun, and I really like that.
Shooting cans, that was hilarious.
Shooting cans. Yeah.
Shay's favorite one was when you take over like that giant O, like the sign,
yeah.
and you just like you blast air.
It's kind of creepy
hilarious.
because it looks like Kirby has like teeth, like metal teeth. Yeah, it's kind of disturbing in a way.
Absolutely. What's the other one I was thinking of too?
There's the stairs. The stairs.
Stairs. Stairs
fun.
made me laugh. I'm like, of course you're just stairs and you just rotate here. When you just like smush the enemies in front of you. Fuck, it was hilarious.
And then you can there's the I don't even know what you'd call it, but it's like a concrete pipe essentially, and you can do these rolling ones. And there's a couple challenge modes based on that are super hard to get the timing down of when you got to jump. So yeah, I mean, mouthful mode is a great addition. I just think it lacks a bit of depth in a way because one, or at least as far as I am, there's no upgrading them. Like they are a set thing. And they're very much set piecey, right? Like you have this ability in this one room, you're to do this one thing that's usually pretty obvious, and then there's a thing that you can't jump up, so you have to get rid of your ability and move on to the next room. So they aren't. It's not like you're going to go through a whole level in one of these modes. They're just very much for set areas. So yeah, I don't know if there's a ton of depth to it, but using the car is a lot of fun. I love the car. I really like the boat. The glider's fun. The cone is quite fun as well. So they are fun. They are, I think, a great addition to the game. I just hope, once again, that they weren't at the cost of more copy abilities.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think those are two systems that are great in the game, the copy and the mouthful. But still, they could have put it up a couple more notches, honestly.
Yeah. Really just have a couple more things to note here. One is the Waddle Dee town, which is something they talked about in the trailers, that essentially as you're saving Waddle Dees, they'll go back and build up this village over the course of the game. And I thought this had me curious. I didn't really foresee it being that great. I thought it'd be kind of fun for a bit, but I just didn't feel like they'd go fully in on the system. And I have to say, it's been a lot of fun so far, and it keeps surprising me. I keep thinking, like, okay, this is how big the town is. Not that big, but it's still cool. But then, a whole new area just randomly appears that doesn't even feel like logically it should be there in any way, but they just keep adding on it. So I'm curious to see how that gets expanded as we get further and further into the game.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's great. It's really fun going through the town, and a lot to do there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. This was another system that as soon as I saw it, I'm like, man, this is for Shay. She's huge in Animal Crossing, just that aspect of like building up a town. Ni no Kuni 2, I don't think you've played that one. Revenant Kingdom, but a big part of that game, at least in the end game, is you're basically rebuilding this kingdom. So like you make decisions on like characters that you've collected to just like come in your kingdom, like, hey, I'm gonna make this guy the blacksmith, and then you spend resources upgrading the blacksmith so that you can just provide more weapons for your army. It's actually a pretty like intense system, and it's only really accessible in the end game. Like once you get full command of your kingdom, go check out Ni no Kuni Revenant Kingdom 2 if you haven't, audio listeners. But so Shay just like spent so many hours just like customizing the town and stuff like that. So as soon as I saw that there was some sort of similar aspect in this game, it's like, man, I can't wait for us to jump in there. And honestly, initially I think I was a little bit disappointed in just like the lack of like it's not like, okay, I'm gonna spend these Waddle Dees here to improve this. It's just like, hey, once you get them, it'll just improve there. And I mean, you kind of got me hopeful because like just hearing like maybe more areas will expand the farther along you get in the game. It's just like the first little portion of the Waddle Dee town. It was just like, is this really it? Okay, I see. Like once we get to 50, then they'll unlock there, and then you get Kirby's house and stuff like that, and then some other buildings that follow.
Well, I won't spoil the things you get, and I don't want to overhype you either. But for me, I just felt like, oh, cool, like this is interesting, and I'll say that there's some mini games that have you encountered any of the mini games that pop up? Okay.
Yeah.
At the cafe, I guess.
Yeah, the cafe.
Yeah. So the cafe, you get a very much overcooked light. Like it's very, very light. Overcooked light on that one, but it's fun. We went through the 3 difficulties, and honestly, I don't know if I'll go back to it. It maybe could have been a bit more interesting, but it's something decent. It's spend a few minutes there, and there seems to be a few of those, so that's cool. And there's one particular place that opens up that I'm really curious to go and do more of, and I won't say what it is so that you can have some surprise when you encounter it yourself. But yeah, it's just a nice reward for all the Waddle Dees that you've saved.
I think it's a system that they didn't even need to have, so it is nice that it's in there. But just like coming like at least having the experience of Ni no Kuni, it's like I know what could have been achieved here. Just like choosing, okay, I'm gonna have these Waddle Dees running this shop or something like that. I think that could have been something that would have just made this even better. But I can't really argue with what I got.
Yeah.
So.
I should mention this. The music, I think, is amazing.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Each area is very distinct. The music just has a lot of depth to it, a lot of layers. It could have just been very simple, but instead it goes hard, and it goes hard in some moments. There's this one level where there is, I can't even tell if the song loops in any way. Like, obviously it does at some point because it has to, but it just feels like this 15-minute long level was just this intense jazz solos for the whole thing. And like the keyboard would be done at solo, and then this other instrument would come in and just rip some other fat solo for like multiple minutes. And it just like, it almost got to be too much. It's like, this is fucking hardcore, man.
Gotta
like,
mute your TV
crazy,
just to
like,
focus.
Live, like some, just live improv session. But I'm just totally jamming to the music, and I wish Nintendo wasn't so savage about their copyrights and stuff like that, because I'd love if this was up on Spotify and I could jam to some of this stuff on my own, put it in my playlists, because, there's some great jazz music in here, and then there's also just some very classic Nintendo vibes. So, they really nailed it. My Muds, she loves the music in the blacksmith shop. I don't know if I guess he's a blacksmith. He upgrades your weapons and your your abilities, but he has just a solid jam when you go in his place as well. So.
I love his like you go in there and then he's like, "Hey, I'll get right back to work," and his chair just like turns and it like hydraulics up to his little workbench there. It's just really cute. Just really cute game, honestly. Yeah, the music. I'm glad you brought that up, because there was certain. I feel like it's one of those things where it's doing a good job at being in the background where I don't really notice it, but it lifts the scenes. Like that's kind of what the purpose is. But it might have even been like that first boss battle, or there was a certain level. It's basically Indiana Jones. That giant boulder just like falls down, chases behind you, and you just like. You're just like, oh no, we gotta go, and then the music's just like even like making it that much more intense. And I definitely, I'm glad you shouted out the music, and I knew it was gonna be special music, just like I said, right after the tutorial when you're in the car and Kirby just looks over and they just start jamming, and then they just like go along. Oh, great stuff.
And I think my last point here was, and I won't spoil this exact moment because you haven't gotten there yet, but there is one moment, man, that was just like Elden Ring. Like, it's some big, scary castle-like thing. It's very slowly panning. The music's intense. It's just like this very extra intro where just the boss is this camera's slowly zooming in to see them. This fight has multiple phases. It's intense. Wow. And, truthfully, it wasn't really that hard, but I'm sure with some single player or going back to try it with some of these other bonus challenges it has on there will be fun. But I just thought like, wow, this was pretty cool moment. Like, not really expected for a Kirby game. So, the boss fights have been good. Like I said, one of them was really, really difficult. But the other ones, even if they're not that difficult, I'm still enjoying the set piece of it. Yeah. And going in with different strategies is going to be fun. And trying to, some of them are hard. Like, one of the challenges is like, just don't get hit in this whole boss fight. I'm like, holy shit, that is going to be hard to do. Like, maybe
that is Dark Souls level.
I don't know if that'll be harder or easier in single player or not, but that's a fun additional challenge to put on there. So
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad I got the game. We can talk about it together. Jump on Sidequest with you, but it's one of those where I feel like it's not my main game genre. I'm not like really in on like the Nintendo family of those types of characters. Like when the new Mario, like when Odyssey came out, I'm not like, oh, I gotta try this just because it's Mario. So I have incentive to get this for Sidequest, but I feel like if it wasn't for Shay, I probably wouldn't have been itching to get this one. But I'm really glad that I did. That this is a thing, for the co-op element, and just being exposed to the world of Kirby. And this is a game that I was jumping in for like the gameplay wise, but it's like the whole aspect of like the Forgotten Land, and we didn't even talk about it, but like right at the beginning when Kirby just gets like sucked in through like the multiverse of madness essentially, and then just comes in this Forgotten Land, and as I was saying, like I'm just getting engulfed in the scenery and being like, oh, I wonder what the backstory is here. Like it's just, I feel like there's a lot of surprises that kind of it boosts the game up even more so than what I'm already feeling while playing it. Like around the next corner, like what's gonna happen, and it's exciting.
Definitely, yeah. It's hard for me to put that stamp on there of like definitely buy this game or definitely don't, just because I gotta play through the whole thing. You know, based on our game save file, it says a certain percentage, and I don't know if that's 100% completion, like because we haven't got all the Waddle Dees, or if that's just based on what level we're on. But if that whatever that is, it seems like we have quite a bit more game to play. I think for me, if you're looking for a co-op game, this seems like a good purchase, and I'd be pretty safe in saying like, yeah, definitely pick this up. Expect that the second player is not going to have the same fully fledged moveset that Kirby is, but it's a pretty good move set, and if you swap back and forth, I think you'll find a lot of enjoyment there. Yeah, I'm really enjoying the game. I'm glad I bought it. Any final thoughts on Kirby? Any notes we didn't get to? Anything like that?
No, I don't think so. I think you laid it out perfectly. You know, if you have a game to want to do some co-op and maybe let the other person not be so heavily invested in it, this is a great game. Maybe it was a bad way to say that, because like I feel like once I figured out that okay, I can actually do different types of attacks and moves as Bandana D, just nailing that name now. Fuck, I love that.
Yeah, you got it now. Yeah.
But and like also like the dodging element, I found so much fun. Just like literally like weaving through enemies, just like doing like these cartwheel type.
And you can like
just
change
dives.
your dodge roll like halfway through. You can change your
100%.
direction and stuff. Like it feels great. Yeah.
And that's what like surprised me is like, okay, I can actually do like a quick hit combo, which like him with the spears, just he's got some really nice quick attacks, and then you just like follow it up with like the block and attack move that's like a jab, and then you can just like you can kind of like just chain moves, and I don't think it's like meant to be played that way, but I'm finding my own enjoyment as the Bandana D. It's lots of fun.
Cool. Well, Kirkland, this was really fun. We just gushed about all the games that we've been jamming lately, and some new ones to expect in the future. So this has been a super fun episode. Next week, once again, Weird West, maybe Ghostwire, maybe Tiny Tina. I got to hear from Dante on what he's been picking up. So yeah, and then PlayStation Spartacus, like this Game Pass competitor. Did I mention that at the start? That's supposed to be announced this week. So if it is, we'll talk about that, and should be a fun episode next week. But thank you for joining me. I don't know when you'll be on Sidequest next. Sometime in April, perhaps.
Ooh, maybe.
Any game you're playing, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But you'll be back soon enough to talk about some news or not. So whatever game you're playing. So this was a lot of fun. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Later.
See you later.